All right, good evening. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, September 9th. I'm just going to run through the agenda very quickly. We're going to begin with community input. Then we're going to have a promotional ceremony and badge pinning, followed by an acknowledgement of a donation from the Carlisle Police Association to the Carlisle Police Department. Then we're going to hear about the Historical Commission demolition delay bylaw, followed by the fire station renovation design discussion. We'll get an update on special town meeting articles. We'll have a discussion about adding cell service to Carlisle communication towers, some appointments, the town administrator report, warrant and minutes approval, liaison reports, cemetery deed transfers, and again, close with community input. So as always, let me just briefly begin with community input. Is there anyone in the room that wants to provide community input? Seeing none. Anyone online?
There's a few people funneling in.
Okay.
You might want to ask again.
Does anyone online have anything for community input?
Who are the two corgis? Don't know.
Mary Lynn Bone. Mary Lynn.
Oh, it's Mary Lynn.
I hear a beep, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move ahead to the first agenda item of the promotional ceremony and badge pinning. And with that, I'd like to welcome Chief Amendola.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, first up is the police promotion from officer to sergeant. We had two candidates in the process. They both went through what I consider a tough promotional process. I know you guys might be familiar with the assessment center that we discussed last time and the assessment center that I went through for the chief's process. So we maintain that standard moving forward for the sergeant's assessment as well. So we had two officers, both strong candidates, and one came out a little bit on top, and we had an oral board as well that we invited two other chiefs to come in and conduct the grading on for the oral presentation. So with that, the other candidate I got to mention did a stellar job as well. His name's Officer John Ryan. He did a really, really good job. It's just sometimes these things come down to a few points, and with saying that, it's understanding also that the quality of officers that work here at the department that we had going for the promotion speaks highly for itself. So, for promotion to officer to sergeant, Jim Mastro Giovanni. He's an experienced law enforcement officer who began his career early on in Carlisle before moving on to Dudley Police Department. Officer Mastro Giovanni has a strong academic background, including a master's degree in counterterrorism and multiple certifications through the Massachusetts State Police Municipal Academy and specialized training programs. Since 2015, Officer Mastro Giovanni has served as a full-time police officer with the Dudley Police Department, where he patrolled assigned areas, responded to calls for service, and became a member of two specialized units, the South Worcester County Counter Drug and Crime Task Force and the Semlec Drone Unit. Officer Mastro Giovanni holds a remote pilot certificate, is a trained sexual assault investigator, and served as a field training officer. Officer Mastro Giovanni returned to the Carlisle Police Department in March of 2025. Officer Mastro Giovanni has prior leadership experience, having developed a small business that he previously owned. This blend of education, management experience, operational experience, and specialized training highlights a well-rounded police officer with a proven expertise in community policing, investigations, task force collaboration, making them a fitting police supervisor for the Carlisle Police Department. Sergeant Mastro Giovanni will be penned by his wife, Wendy. I do crack the dad joke of Mastro Giovanni's common spelling for the mosquito. And so if we can invite Sergeant Mastro Giovanni up here with his wife, Wendy, for penning. Oh, you want to take some too? It's the one time you can stab him. with a promotion comes a new hire, so it's my great pleasure to introduce Robert Ludwig. Ludwig is a dedicated law enforcement officer with over a decade of experience in policing, military service, and community engagement. Previously serving with the Drake Police Department since 2014, he has extensive patrol experience to include an assistant firearms instructor, an active union board member for 7 years, including vice president. His background includes prior service with the Massachusetts Air National Guard Security Forces, where he gained valuable experience in security and law enforcement. He holds multiple advanced firearms instructor certification and is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and an instructor. Officer Ludwig has previously received the Drake Police Chiefs Achievement Award and the U.S. Air Force Outstanding Performer Award. Officer Ludwig is an excellent candidate who will bring proven leadership, instructional expertise, and strong commitment to Carlisle. Officer Ludwig will be penned by his mother, Debbie, which may or may not be a surprise. Step right up over here.
I was looking at pictures.
Just don't stab me, huh?
I guarantee.
Gotta get sharper points.
Yes,
Tough shirts, those. Terrible.
It's a Kevlar shirt, right?
There we go. Congratulations. Do you want to take one?
Both of them.
Jim, can we just grab a photo? Hey, Rob, I'm just gonna snap it.
Just stand up there, maybe. With a-
Did we stand as well?
No, you guys are, look, just make sure you're looking good back there. Smiling. Okay. Wait a minute, I got, okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the good news keeps rolling on.
I know.
So as you know, we've talked about in the past about a drone for the police department. We had a couple of officers who were extremely motivated, one being Officer Andrew Corwin and the other one now being Sergeant Master Giovanni. So just a quick background. Drones provide police departments with enhanced situational awareness, allowing officers to safely monitor incidents from above, track suspects, and search large areas quickly. They are especially effective for missing person cases, accident reconstruction, tactical operations, and documenting crime scenes. By reducing risk to officers and improving response efficiency, drones increase public safety while saving time and resources. Generous donations from the community members to the Carlisle Police Association made it possible to purchase the department's drone, well, hopefully soon to be a department's drone, reflecting strong public support for the program and its benefits to safety and service. This partnership truly highlights the shared commitment between the department and the community to invest in innovative tools and technology for the police department's future to protect residents. Again, I do say on a personal note, thank you to Officer Corwin and Sergeant Master Giovanni for taking the time and effort to really spearhead this program, develop policy on it, and get it to the point where it's now sitting on a table in front of us all. It's been an impressive feat for them. So that's that. This is the drone.
Excellent. It's very impressive. What can it do?
Start it
That's a
up.
great question.
Demonstrate.
Officer Corwin can answer any questions you
Is
have.
it optical, and infrared?
So it does have infrared. It has infrared spotlight as well, and so that we can have a better idea of our surroundings. So infrared, usually you have a scale of black and white or colors. When you use the infrared spotlight, you can also see details as well. So that's actually incredible for our situational awareness, in addition to knowing what's going on in the ground. Not
That's
just
great.
there's a person down there. So there's that. There's 4K video. The zoom is absolutely incredible on this. You can see for miles if you can. And we've actually been able to work with the FAA, and we have a waiver from them that we can fly beyond visual line of sight, meaning normally you have to have it in your sight. It can fly all the way out if we need to, because especially with all these trees, it's going to be really tough to not see the drone at times. So I think that's the biggest thing that we've been able to accomplish besides getting the drone, is working with the FAA and getting that waiver. So we're actually good for many years with the FAA. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
And range and endurance?
So it depends on the weather conditions. Range, we're not going to be going too far. We don't want to be going miles and miles and miles away,
Yeah.
because we still want to have roughly awareness of where it is. There is mapping on it. But in regards to endurance, usually they say up to 52 minutes. The general time per battery is 45. And we have 4 batteries. We have a charging station, so it should be come back, go down, put another battery in, put it right back up, put a pin where we just were, so we can realize where it's flown and everything like that. So it's really, it's really high tech. Some really
Great.
cool things that we can do with it.
This is a
What's
great
also good
addition.
about it is, so we are part of resources that do have drones and things that we can call out to come to the community, but having it inside, hosted in the community, really gives us the ability to get the drone up immediately. And, especially for search and rescue missions that we're missing children out in the woods, we're able to start looking for that before resources come in, which, as we know, can take some time, so.
Great.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, hold on.
Eyes on the sky.
So, in order to accept this, because of the financial implications, the select board does need to accept this donation on behalf of the town, if you so choose.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to that effect, I believe, or no?
I don't have a motion.
Okay, well,
I can make that motion.
Yeah.
I'd move that we accept the drone as a gift from the police, is it police association?
Carlisle,
Carlisle
please.
Carlisle
Police
Police
Yeah.
Association, to the town of Carlisle.
Second?
Second.
A second.
Any more discussion or deliberation? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
that's right.
Nice one.
Have a little, yeah, oh.
I apologize. I lost my wallet. I'll have to go find it. I'll be back when I can.
Okay.
And in doing that vote, before you leave, I just want to say all the select board members are here and present in person. Forgot to do that at the beginning, and David Modell is stepping out. All right. That's a nice way to start a select board meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, we should do more of those. So with that, we can move on to the next item in our agenda, and that is the Historical Commission demolition delay bylaw. So Ben and Chrissy, the co-chairs of the Historical Commission, are here to take us through a presentation and answer select board's questions.
Any reason why we don't have the rolly chairs here?
They hit people.
Yeah. Great, well, thank you, Select Board, for seeing us this evening, giving us the opportunity to present the demolition review bylaw. We presented to you back in April, I think it was.
Yep.
It was a little while back, so we have some updates to share in the development of this important bylaw. And so ultimately, we're looking for some feedback from you guys and hopefully your support for this bylaw. Both the bylaw and we've also submitted to you draft language. So if you have detailed questions, we'll do our best to respond to those questions as well.
And we have this is the most recent presentation you sent out just before the meeting.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott. So next slide, please. So what is the demolition review bylaw? So I'll say a few words about what it is. So we see this as a mechanism for the town to have a dialogue about historic preservation. Kind of period. It's a dialogue, it's a conversation. And just one part of the preservation toolkit for the town. We have others. There's the distinctive structures bylaws, part of the zoning bylaws. There's environmental stewardship, which serves a role in this as well through the ESC and other boards, et cetera, et cetera. I would also like to highlight kind of what this is not, and this is in response to some of the feedback we've been getting from community members. The demolition review is, it does not prevent demolition. It is just a delay in the process to give the community the time to reflect on what the application is about and to discuss alternatives to demolition. Next slide, please. So, why in Carlisle? The goal of this bylaw is to protect the integrity of Carlisle's historic character, which in the master plan, Carlisle character is identified as one of the 5 community values. So I just want to point to one of the structures on this particular slide up here. 587 Bedford Road there is the Varnum Monroe House, built in 1831. It's on 225, which has been historically a major thoroughfare between Carlisle and Bedford, and was formerly the site of a general store. They manufactured shoes and overalls in this house and sold them there. And November of last year, that the west wing, the left side of the house there, was demolished. An application for demolition was applied for, and it was demolished in November. Unfortunately, without any discussion about historic preservation at the time. Since then, nothing has really happened. No construction has commenced since that time. So we feel that that's sort of a missed opportunity. These conversations about historic preservation could be happening prior to the demolition of an important structure like this. And so not only is that impacting this particular structure, but also impacting the historic character of this section of town. That said, there are some semi-success stories in town as well without the demolition bylaw. 2123 Bedford Road, it happens to be in the historic district, so it does have some other historic preservation protections in place. However, there was the Deacon John Greenhouse. It was completely razed and reconstructed to pretty much match what the original structure looked like. The Greeno Barn, I would say, is a semi-success as well. It was in discussion in the town for a number of years before it ultimately needed to be demolished. But prior to that happening, there was an opportunity to document that structure and to salvage important parts of the structure for relocation and reuse in other places. So the timbers from that stable structure are, I think, currently being reconstructed in Concord in a private residence. And they're on full display in that particular house. So while this wasn't preserved in its existing location, the relocation allowed the history of this building to be preserved. Similarly, the slates from this roof, at least a percentage of the slates from this roof were preserved and reused in the central burying ground on the Litchfield seat roof. Next slide. So this might look familiar to you all. This is a diagram from the master plan where it indicates, it illustrates the community's desire to preserve resources with historic value. 73% of people, and this is of 695 people, 73% felt that it was important or very important to support the town's cultural and historic resources and activities. and 63% felt that it was important or very important to preserve homes, buildings, and land with significant cultural or historic value and reuse potential. Also in the master plan, it highlights that the Massachusetts Historical Commission recommends a demolition delay bylaw or demolition review bylaw, which is what we call this, because it's not necessarily a delay, but it is a review. And they find that this is an important tool for protection of historic and cultural resources. The 2010 Historic Properties Survey, which was conducted by preservation consultants with the use of CPA funds, also recommended the implementation of a demolition delay bylaw. And the Horsley Witten Group, which we've all been talking with over the past year, as part of the Climate Resilient Carlisle MVP project, they've also identified, with the help of various boards and committees, that it is important to preserve and reuse existing structures and buildings. But to do this, it also requires education to the community, change in local code, and change in town policy. And so that's, why we're here. And lastly on this slide, we also just wanted to note that we're entering into some new territory in the town of Carlisle. We have ADUs, which are allowed by right. We also have the MBTA Act, Communities Act, that is imminent, that's forthcoming. And these things could very well have an impact on the historic character of Carlisle. Next slide, please. So again, why in Carlisle? Without preservation protections in place, we think that there are many homes in town that will be vulnerable to demolition, and these are just, not all of them are homes, but many have historic value to the town. And so I'll hand it over to Chrissy now to walk us through some of the details.
We go to the next slide. So this is a flow chart that we've put together, and I'm just going to walk everyone through it. We're hoping that's a clear sort of visual play-by-play of how this demolition review bylaw would work. So as you can see in step 1, the building commissioner would receive an application, and once in receipt of this application would determine if the building or structure is 50 years old or older. If that determination is made by the building commissioner, then they would pass the application off to the historical commission and move to step 2. If not, then the building commissioner may issue a demolition permit at that time. I also just want to quickly note, you'll see sort of inset like little timelines. Those timelines are built into the language of the bylaw to mandate the deadlines for these steps to occur. So if a structure is determined to be 50 years old or older, then the historical commission would review the application in a public meeting and determine at that public meeting the historic significance of the structure in question. This is sort of the first opportunity for the historical commission and the community at large to participate in this process and provide input and feedback on the structure that's being reviewed. By design, this bylaw that is being proposed is a 2-step process, and again, that's also a way for the community to participate as thoroughly as possible and be involved on both step 2 and step 3, which are 2 public interfacing conversations about the historical significance of the structure in question. So if during step 2, the historical commission determines that the structure is historically significant, the application would then move to step 3. If the building or structure is deemed not historically significant, then the building commissioner would have the opportunity to issue a demolition permit. Once we move to step 3, the historical commission would hold a public hearing to determine if the structure is preferably preserved. And again, The idea here is that there would be a public process for to gather public input on this determination as well. If the structure is deemed preferably preserved, then the application would move to step 4. If the structure is deemed not preferably preserved, then the building commissioner could issue a demolition permit at that point. So what happens if the application is moved to step 4? The demolition review period would then be enacted. And there's sort of 2 possibilities within step 4. The goal would be that a mutually agreeable solution is found for the preservation in some facet of this structure, and that then the remainder of the demolition review period would be able to be waived, or that the demolition review period would simply expire after 18 months. And then the building commissioner would also be able to issue a demolition permit. The hope here is that through this process, the Historical Commission can become a resource to the homeowner over the scope of and course of the project, and also that the character and the fabric of the town of Carlisle is protected through this process. I also want to just provide.
Can I
Yeah.
just ask a question, or a couple
Of course.
questions? One, when you say, and I may be clarified in the bylaw language, but within 30 days, if the historical commission can't meet, can't hold a quorum, if you can't meet, is it deemed a demolition permit can be issued, or?
There's actually a couple of possibilities. So if the Historical Commission can't meet within 30 days, it can actually designate an individual to have that conversation. So it doesn't have to convene a quorum, technically.
Okay.
Or, yes, if there's a failure for the Historical Commission to act, then it reverts back to the building commissioner, and a demolition review permit, or a demolition permit could be issued.
Could be issued or would be issued?
That's up to the building commissioner.
Okay. And then, is there I'm guessing there's not, but is there any definition of what historically significant means?
I'm
Okay.
gonna get to that in a minute, yeah. That's a great question. So, moving into some background information, which I think will be relevant here. In the last 15 years, there have been roughly 30 applications for demolition in the town of Carlisle. Of those 30 applications, about 50 of them would have been passed along to the Historical Commission for review.
Wait,
50?
you said 30 apps and 50?
50%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
That was in 15, did you say?
in the last 15 years,
15 years.
there's been roughly 30 applications for demolition. Of those 30 applications, about 50% of the applications would have been passed along to the Historical Commission. So really, we're talking about approximately 1 application per year for review. And Scott, to your question, the determination of historical significance. This is a well-established path at both the national and the state level. So historical significance is defined by the Massachusetts Historical Commission as importantly associated with 1 or more historic persons or events, or with the broad architectural, cultural, economic, or social history of the town or commonwealth. So the idea here would be that we would use these established definitions and pathways to apply in Carlisle as well. That would sort of be the litmus test. Is the property in question, or the structure in question, registered on the National Register of Historic Places? Or is there a pending application for its admittance onto that registrar? Is the property or structure listed on MACRIS, which is the Massachusetts Historical Commission's database of information on the historic properties or areas of the Commonwealth? And then there's a set of criteria that is sort of set forth by the National Historic Register. So we would model that definition of historic significance around some of those criteria. And there's really sort of, in a distilled down version, there's 4 criteria on that National Registrar's sort of outline. And it's historic value. So does the property represent significant historical events or trends? Architectural value. So is it an outstanding example of a particular architectural type or style? Archaeological value. does it contain or does it have the potential to contain significant archaeological resources that reveal information about the past? And finally, cultural value. Does it embody the distinctive characteristics of a type of property or represent a significant cultural tradition? So again, these are sort of modeled after the criteria for the acceptance on the National Historic Register.
You had mentioned the 15 in 15 years that would, did you look at which of those would have met the standard of a demolition review? Like of the 15 that would have made it to historic, did you take the next step to say of these 15, we probably would have, it would have gotten to step 4 or step 3?
We did, between the two of us,
Yeah,
sort of
just
like
in-
have some general conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the applications for demolition had to do with like filling in an in-ground pool. Obviously, that doesn't hold any historic significance. So we did sort of do some thought experiments, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, roughly it was a small percentage of the 15 applications that would have come before the Historical Commission. Roughly speaking, I would say a quarter, maybe a third of those. Although that might be a little bit aggressive, probably closer to a quarter.
yeah.
So do you have a predefined set currently of what would be considered historically significant in town? Like how many properties would fall under this threshold?
So the threshold for that determination is made in step 1, and that is the structure 50 years old or older?
So how did you guys come to 50 years old?
That is also an established historic preservation precedent at the national level. They use that criteria of 50 years old or older to start the process of assessment.
And
Problem with being over 50 is you're like,
I
it
know,
doesn't sound that old.
I have no idea.
We're now historical.
Yeah. And then what is driving the 18-month delay period? That seems like an awfully long time.
Sure. So the 18 months is, again, there's some recommendations from the state, from Mass Historic, that set out some parameters for the consideration of alternative pathways to demolition, which I will touch on in a minute. But there, actually, if we want to skip to slide
The map.
the map.
To the map.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. So this is a map of every community in the Commonwealth with a demolition review bylaw. Carlisle, just to make it simple, is that orange target there in the middle. And so you can see all of the towns surrounding us with demolition review bylaws, and then they're color-coded with sort of the longest being the darkest and the shortest, or none being the lightest.
The longest, like the 18th.
Review
time.
period.
Period of the review.
Actually,
Review period,
yeah,
okay.
there's some
So-
towns that have even greater than 18 months. Lexington is a good example. They have a 20-month review, 21-month review period.
Okay.
So we gave this a lot of thought and consideration. I think that we wanted to make sure that there's ample time to have the appropriate conversations to explore the options for alternative pathways within Carlisle. We looked at what some of the other towns around us have done in the past and what they are doing, and we found that many towns who have established a bylaw many years ago have since gone back, and those communities have revised their bylaws to increase the review period, and that those requested increases have been passed by the towns. So they've gone from a shorter review period to a longer review period through a bylaw amendment process. And so again, through the recommendation of Mass Historic, what we kind of talked about as being an appropriate length of time to have this important conversation, and looking at what some other communities directly surrounding us have done, as well as other communities in the Commonwealth, 18 months sort of felt like, it's long enough to get us to an answer or an alternative without being exceedingly long. And again, because of those revisions that other towns have been making, we opted for a lengthier review period, because it can always be shortened if an agreement is reached. So it's not a maximum time needed, but it is a maximum time allowed by the bylaw if that conversation needs to take that long. So if an agreement is reached in, a few months, then the demolition review period could be waived and the applicant is able to complete their project.
And the agreement for, let's say it's an agreement for an alternative, that doesn't have to be completed. It's an agreement it's a legal agreement that you make with the property owner?
It would be
That's right.
an agreement that is made during a public meeting with the Historical Commission and hopefully with members of the community as well.
Okay.
So back to my question of how many homes are older than 50 years? 50 years and older?
In town currently, there's a little more than 600.
Thank you.
But there's not a definite, you've not pre-designated preferably preserved buildings in town. Okay.
And what constitutes demolition? You mentioned filling in a pool. What if someone's, what's the standard that it means to be demolition of a structure?
So that again comes through the building commissioner.
Okay.
So if the project is applied for as a demolition project, then again, if that structure or building is 50 years old or older, then it would be under review for being passed to the historical commission. But that initial determination is through the building commissioner's office.
Yep.
And what about in that first step, is the building structure 50 years old or older? Does that encompass the entire building, or if you had an original cottage that was then subsequently expanded in the last 20 years, how does that factor in?
It's a great question. It's a great question, and I think that would be part of this initial step. But I would think that if the demolition was associated with the portion of the house that is over 50 years or older, then this would be a conversation. The demolition review would be a conversation. If it was of the newer addition that's less than 50 years or older, then I think this doesn't have to be part of the discussion. That's how I would see that.
Yeah.
And is that
But we haven't
true
talked about that.
internally and externally? So if you had a structure that was inside, say I had some beams that were 100 years old in my house, and yet that was it, they were kind of displayed in my kitchen, would that be part of that?
It's a good question, Travis. I don't know that would necessarily need to come before the Historical Commission for the demolition review, because it's an interior element of the house.
So it's only exterior. Does it say that in the bylaw, that it's only exterior?
So again, the demolition
yes.
permit would be triggered through the
Did we get that in
building
there?
commissioner.
Yeah.
So if it's deemed demolition by the building commissioner's office, then it would be under consideration. Typically, the historical commission has no purview over interior projects. It's simply exterior. But if it's deemed a demolition project, then there may be some initial conversation, and that would be sort of the step 2 about whether or not it's a historically significant project. But I think an internal renovation project would be unlikely to trigger
So
the bylaw.
I read about that and I was a little confused because the word demolish to me means it's gone, right? I mean, how do you just remove the exterior? I mean, demolish means you plowed the thing under. So how do you, I mean, I think the exterior and the interior here go hand in hand.
Well, I think if we look at the example of the Varnum Monroe house, which is in one of those first slides, back one, please,
Mm-hmm.
or 2. So that second slide in,
Yep.
that left-hand portion
Yeah.
required a demolition permit. So that would have come under the review because the house is over 50 years old or older. So that application for demolition would have been reviewed by the building commissioner and then, in theory, sent to the historical commission for review.
Mm-hmm.
So that project was enough to trigger a demolition permit through the building commissioner.
Right. But I guess, so back to Travis's example of if there are some beams that are, ancient, in his home. I don't know, I guess I'm hung up on the word demolish, which to me means you're gonna tear the thing down. And, so there's no interior versus exterior, it's, if it is older than 50 years old, it's gonna be ripe for consideration, is that what you're saying?
Well, isn't that gonna be up to the building commissioner? So if it's an internal renovation that involves removing some old beams inside the house.
Okay, then
That's
it's just
up
a
to the-
renovation, it's not
Yeah.
a demolition.
Yeah, and
Okay.
which leads to my question about the building commissioner. It's kind of a big responsibility then. Have you all had conversation with our building commissioner
We-
and
Yeah, and his comments were favorable for having a bylaw of this nature.
Mhm.
And based on the number of demolition applications, he didn't feel that it was a major lift
Okay.
for him.
And I don't know if there are cases where, the building commissioner has to exercise a certain judgment, because whatever the situation is, it doesn't quite naturally fall under, renovation versus demolition. And so I'm assuming that our building commissioner feels comfortable if that happens. And I would hope that if there's some question, the building commissioner could come to the historic commission and say, I'm not sure about this one, and you have a conversation.
I think that sounds right, Barney.
Yeah.
I like you've gone through this public process, and I like the idea that this is all public, because, it's the public that has the interest in this. But I'm thinking about if you're a homeowner and you wanted to sell your house, and the buyer comes in and says, I really want to change this house. And if it's 50 years old, irrespective of what it looks like now or whatever, it then has to go before you. So this bylaw could limit the time period or extend the time period of a potential sale of a house. Have you thought about that, or, because I just think about it relative to people moving in and out of Carlisle, and if you found a buyer and they said, well, geez, I really want to renovate the house and put an addition on, they may not buy the house, or they'd have to do a contingency in the contract to say, oh, well, we'll go before you. And so it delays it. So I don't know if you've had any discussions about that or thoughts?
I think that unless that buyer applied for a demolition permit ahead of the sale, there would be no delay to the sale of the home. I can give you an example of a home in Wayland that is a historic home and barn, and a new buyer came in and wanted to demolish the historic house. Wayland has a demolition review bylaw, and after going through the process, the agreement was that the original house and barn became accessory unit dwellings to the property, and a new larger structure was built behind the original home. So the historic character of Wayland was preserved in that sense, but there was a collaborative agreement between the town and the homeowner. So the homeowner achieved what they also, wanted to achieve in building their new structure on the property. And the historic structure remained intact and was sort of given a new lease on life because the barn and the home became accessory unit dwellings. So I don't know that it's always a negative for the homeowner or the new buyer either.
Well, I know the statistics where we want to preserve character of Carlisle, and so that's an important thing, and I can see how this plays into that. And you could say, oh, well, but it's so broad that anything, like any kind of house, could be conceived of or deemed historic in some sense. You could have a 60s deck house, you could have a 70s deck house, and you could say, well, these are all fabric of Carlisle, and so we want to preserve everything the way it is. And that could be the case, but it could be that we just want to preserve houses from the Revolution or, from that time period. And it's so, I just wondered if you've looked ahead of time to say, these are the ones we really think are significant,
Well, I
rather
think-
than every blanket everyone.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's all right.
Well, I think in answer to that, Travis, is that, what we don't necessarily collectively feel is historic now, in a few years may be considered historic, right? I'll just use deck houses for an example. A lot of those were built in our lifetime, okay? Maybe not mine, but, some of our lifetimes. And because of that, some people may feel that they are not historic in nature, but give it 10, 15 years and the feelings may change on that topic, or for any other mid-century home in Carlisle, of which we have many. And so that's one answer to that question. To select a date and time and say anything before that is the only thing that should be considered historically significant as a static date, well, that becomes further and further away from current day, and there'd be opportunities to update that date, but that takes time, or it takes time, volunteer hours, money to update lists to include other houses in what would be considered historically significant, if that answers your question.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 10 minutes left in this portion of the agenda, and
Okay.
I do want to, I know you have some other slides, but I do want to, as you can see, there's questions among the select board. I'm sure there's questions that you've received and questions from people who it's probably not even on their radar yet. So
Yeah.
can you talk about where you are with this article? I see the slide on community outreach. If you could speak to that, what you've done to date. I know you had a poll on the website. I don't know if there's results you can share from that, but also what you plan to do between now and special town meeting. And also, just in general, what's the status of the bylaw language itself? Has this been reviewed by legal? What steps are needed there to bring that to final? Just so we can understand what lies in front of you between now and November 2nd, which isn't that far.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, it's coming up pretty quickly. Sure, I'm happy to speak to that. So, since we met in April last, we have held a number of community-facing events. We've had to date 2 open houses, and a third is planned for prior to our meeting next week, September 17th. We have had tables for outreach at both Route to Sustainability Day and Old Home Day. And we've had some great conversations with the community during those events. We have created the poll, as you mentioned, which is still live on the website. And we have plans to publish something hopefully in the Mosquito with a QR code so that that poll is more visible. We have presented to various boards and commissions in town, obviously to the select board. We've presented to planning board, ESC, we've spoken with the Historical Society, and we have plans to go back to some of those boards as well and present again or answer any follow-up questions that they have at this point. We've met with town officials, both the town planner and the building commissioner. And we have had about 50 responses to the poll. Certainly we would love more. So if anyone wants to fill that out who hasn't, I recommend that you do. We have had, it's roughly 50-50 as far as people's support for or not in favor. And again, it would be helpful to have as much public feedback as we can get. So if we could have more visibility for that poll, that would be great. We've spoken with Aubrey about using social media channels. Yep. So we still need to do that, and I know that there's some other sort of administrative things for the warrant article as well through the town. So we're looking forward to engaging with that.
Yeah, the podcasts or whatever you're managing, I think, with Aubrey.
What's the interface with the planning board in terms of the overlap? Is there overlap on this, or and how involved have they been in this in terms of?
Sarah's here.
Oh, hi, yes. Has the plan, I'm assuming the planning board hasn't taken an official position, but is there a general feeling among the planning board?
I'm not taking a general position. The board was slightly different makeup.
I'm sorry, can you just say your name just
Sure,
for the record?
Sure. Sarah Cassidy Smith, planning board chair, and historic commission member.
Yep.
So yeah, because of my membership on both boards, there's been lots of back and forth, and I've tried to give both boards and commissions a update whenever there's a change. There are several sites under consideration for MBTA overlay zoning that are historic sites, and so I think the target for adaptive reuse, and I think having this bylaw in place would be incredibly helpful. So I think in general we might not haven't specifically voted to approve it, but the feeling was generally very favorable, and some of the sites that are still under consideration were those that have scored favorably in our sort of comprehensive data collection through all the boards and committees in town, but also the surveys that we did. We did a pretty extensive survey, so those have been ranked high in both sort of public feedback, but also from other boards and committees. So I do think it would be a beneficial tool, just again to have that conversation, whether it's a delay or not. I think having that.
Is that noted in the different scenarios yet of which would apply under? It's hard when you're dealing with two potential, two articles going at the same time. One may have the impact on another in terms of, is there a plan to note in some of the scenarios or properties that are being considered for the MBTA, which would apply under the demo review bylaw?
We haven't gotten that far.
Okay. Because that would be a way to generate awareness in terms of.
We've got a lot on our plate, right?
No, I know, and maybe, I don't know if that's something that
Yeah.
you can look at, but if you want to get awareness, that's one vehicle in terms of putting this in the context of the
Yeah.
MBTA communities.
Yeah.
Because that'll be a question that people have, is if this passes, how would this affect some of the scenarios being discussed?
That's a great suggestion. I'll also also want to plug our open house that's on September 17th.
September 17th, and that's here
6:30 here at Town
in
Hall.
the Clark Room, 6:30, September 17th.
I have a question about the actual language of the bylaw that is in our packet, unless there was something else you wanted to ask in terms of preparation for the town meeting. Good?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, in terms of the bylaw language itself, the status of the legal review, and is this near final? Is this been through, I think it's been through some legal review, correct?
It has. It's been through,
Couple rounds.
yeah. We have a few small revisions to make, but they're very more technical than actually changing any intent.
That's more just to make
Yeah.
sure that the timeline is sufficient to do
Yeah.
that, okay.
So, in reading this, and you referred to this, Chrissy, I think, when you were talking about if you couldn't make a quorum. So the 19.4.3 is the one that talks about if you don't have a quorum, if there's some inability to rule in time, that one commissioner member or a municipal employee could, I guess, have the authority delegated to them. All right, let me get to 19.4.3. So I'm just curious about, this is to make initial determinations of significance. Which step would that be in your, or is it
Step
a
two.
particular?
Step 2 for the historical significance.
Step 2, so, it seems like a pretty big decision for one person to make. I'm just interested in, is this, I don't know if this was bylaw language that, you drew from other towns, but what's the thinking behind? I mean, I understand you want to, in the hopefully rare case that you can't meet, but there's no appeal process or, at least written into here. So what's the sort of thinking about this?
So the initial language that we worked from is a draft that was created by Mass Historic for towns to work from. So that piece is included in that original outline of the bylaw. I think, to your point, yes, it's a very large decision, but there is a moment of sort of checks and balances, if you will, because there is that second step for the preferable preservation. So the demolition review couldn't be enacted without that third step of the process. So this would simply move the application forward to that third step, to that determination of preferably preserved or not.
But on the flip side, that individual could be the one to say, no, this doesn't qualify, and goes back to the building commissioner to issue a permit, which
Yes.
could then be done and the demolition begins.
Yes.
Sure.
And on that point, I had a question
Mhm.
on enforceability. You state later on that there would be a fine of $300 a day until the owner rebuilds a replica or comes to some sort of agreement with the Historic Commission. Who are those funds payable to? Who holds those, and what is the purpose of those funds? Because that could add up a lot. I mean, to get a new place built could easily take a year. $300 a day. I mean, we're now talking over $100,000. So who holds those funds?
So I think that funds would go to the town of Carlisle, but maybe that's a question that maybe, I don't know, Ryan, you might understand more clearly where these penalty fees go to. Do they go to the building commissioner typically, or would they go to the town?
So unless
And,
unless designated, it would go to the general fund, which is
So it's a
fines
good
and
question,
penalties revenue.
Christine.
But as I read this is not somebody who, where, they applied for the demolition permit, and then it went to step 2, and then it was declared not a, trying to get your language,
Right. That it's-
preferable review, or whatever you were calling it, right? This is the case where somebody just tears down the structure without going through any process.
Right.
So it's a pretty stiff fine, but
It is defined, so I'm guessing there's a couple of
Yeah.
different, someone could theoretically arrive at the point where they think that for whatever reason, they're good to go, right? And they go demolish the thing, now what, But it also could be that they're just flagrantly disregarding, and that's, of course, they're gonna be fined in that case.
So
I'm
it's
just-
part of the
In any event,
regulatory,
my
it's part of the
question-
regulatory process, so, anybody who's building pretty much anything needs to get a building permit.
Right.
And so this is part of that process.
Mhm.
yeah.
So just to interject, I think there's going to be more questions, certainly from our end, and I'm sure for the community's end. So
Yeah.
I think tonight was our chance to get a kind of an initial review of this with you, and so thank you for doing that. I think between now and our next few meetings, we'll probably have you back to answer more questions and get an update in terms of the bylaw itself. So
Great.
why don't we stop the Q&A for now? I encourage everyone to attend the open houses. I presume, as you hear these questions, putting the information online so people can refer to that is very helpful. And I know you do have a page set up. And then for our part, next week, we sign the warrant and we'll move the process forward. But I think with that, we'll probably move on to the next agenda item, unless there's anything else pressing for tonight.
I do. So the
Yep.
spoiler alert for later.
Yep.
At least the town planner, and the planning board in general, would like the warrant signed on October 7th, which is your next meeting after the next, to give more time for the warrant article. That's allowable and still make all of our timeframes. It's a little bit tighter than we wanted, but given the gravity of that article, I think it makes sense. So the reason why I'm bringing it up now is we need to write a warrant article. This is not directed at you, I think you know this, but
Yep.
warrant article is the ad for all the residents to say this is what's gonna be on. So you can have a generic, we're gonna have a historical commission demo delay bylaw warrant. It's preferable to have as much detail as possible, but that's also restrictive. So if you're not gonna have the bylaw finalized by the 7th, then I need to know so we can write what needs needs to be signed on the 7th, so I really need to know in 2 weeks or so.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Done.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Assuming the select board agrees that we're signing it on the 7th, which they're just hearing now for the first time.
Yeah, let's speak to you later.
Great, great.
Well-
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you both.
Yeah,
That
thank
was a
you all.
very helpful, I
Great.
think,
Yeah.
discussion. Thanks a lot.
Much appreciated.
All right. Next up, we have the fire station. So Matt, you want to come up? I don't know if Chief, whomever else, I think,
It said it was there, and then I went there, it said it was here.
did you find it?
It
And
said it was at work, so I went to work, and it said, no, it's here.
who's it? Your wallet?
Yeah.
That's it.
Probably in your bag. You'll find it like,
For your car, I think.
Oh, it's on it. I got distracted, that wasn't a good thing.
Yeah.
all right, so when we last met, we reviewed the updated conceptual design that Matt Salad had presented from Tecton. And as discussed at that meeting, tonight's kind of the night for some final discussions. You were also looking at following up on some of the exterior questions and comments. So we had asked, or I had asked, that Matt come back tonight to talk, one, briefly revisit the floor plan that we saw and highlight if anything had changed since the last one. Two was to revisit the exterior discussion and comments. And three was to check in terms of outreach, timing and planning, and what's left to be done between now and special town meeting. So Matt is here. Antonia is here from Tecton. She's the community engagement specialist that I've been talking with. And with that, Matt, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome.
And are you need a co-host?
If I may, I promise I won't kick everybody out this time. Apologize
That's
for
right.
that last time.
You're already in.
I'm already in.
I forgot.
Oh, there we
I
go.
had to.
That's why you never bring things up again.
It was perfect last time, nothing happened.
Right.
Nothing to see there. Okay, great. Good evening, everybody. So since we last met, essentially we've been working through the updated exterior designs. We've been working on refining the community engagement strategy up to town meeting. Chief did send me a couple of comments on the floor plan. I don't have those prepared tonight to review, so I have the floor plans from last time. If you want an overview, just to go through them one more time, and I can talk through the chief's adjustments he's gonna be looking for briefly.
Sure.
So if you recall, last time we were looking at the two-story solution. This is the floor plan for the ground floor. The building essentially is organized with the box plan south as the existing fire station, and then to the north is the new addition. The lower level, the lower side of the plan to the south, little zoom windows are popping up on me, so I apologize. Is essentially there's a lot of their support spaces, gear storage, things like that. So we were looking at creating a small report writing space in the old ambulance bay, as well as a decontamination space. We've got firematic gear storage, a hot zone or dirty zone restroom that's in the bays, so that the firefighters can use the facilities without going into the clean side of the building and decontaminating. SCBA room where they would clean, decontaminate, and service and fill their air packs. An air compressor room and a work room, which is for servicing of firematic gear in the vehicles. And then electric room, which is in the existing electric and boiler room. We would expand that electric service. One comment that the chief had is he would like to utilize the existing showers. So there's an existing small locker room here, and there's some shower facilities within that. Utilize those for the decontamination space rather than build a brand new shower. So we would probably look at sort of shuffling around a few of these spaces in order to accommodate that. Those showers are right in this area here. So by doing so, it would further be, save money and lower cost by reusing things that are already there rather than creating new ones. To the north of the plan, we've got 4 new bays. These are 2 double deep bays. We've got our turnout gear storage room. This is our entry lobby. And then the administrative offices occupy the remainder of the floor, with the admin space here, the chief's office, deputy chief's office, and a shared EMS coordinator and fire prevention office that you will use flexible furnishings, so it can also be used as a conferencing space for the fire department.
I'm
They've
sorry,
got
is it what kind of space?
Conference room.
Oh, thank
Yep.
you.
We've got a small copy work area that's shared by everybody on this floor. We have our elevator, we've got record storage, and then a restroom and a janitor's closet. In the back of the bays, we've got another mechanical electrical space as we design the systems that'll firm up as to what actually needs to go in there. And then we have an EMS supply storage and a drug storage for restocking of the ambulances. One other request that the chief had made since our last meeting is to look at further centralizing this turnout gear space between the 2 bays, as well as relocating the report writing area up into this zone, so it's more connected. Primary folks that are writing the reports are the EMS folk, because they have so many more medical calls than they do fire calls. So it makes sense to co-locate a lot of those facilities together.
Matt, with regard to the process of making sure we get this out to a cost estimator, are these changes or potential changes delaying the process to do that, or are these things that
No.
are substantive enough to affect the cost estimator?
Yeah, neither. They're from a 20,000-foot view, they would have no substantive impact on the budget itself. So there'd be some realized cost savings with the reorganization of that decon space to save a shower, but we're talking, a couple of $1,000s, 1 or 2, not $20, $30, $40,000. So not huge savings there, but every penny counts. But it's not something that would be realized in a conceptual design level cost estimate.
Back on that report writing space, I'm not clear on why that warrants its own special space. I mean, couldn't the conference room or some other, is it literal, I know it's just a drawing, but it looks like literally just table space and chairs. I like the idea of.
It's basically red zone space, so the deal is, the person who does direct patient care
Yes.
needs to be the one coming back and do the reports. The person who drove the ambulance is the one getting the ambulance back in service. So he needs to, what did you use? Did you do this? What did you, and so they're yelling back and forth, and then he's going and taking care of putting the ambulance back in service. So it's kind of a unit.
I
So
see.
your equipment, your ambulances, your report writing, and your storage is all kind of a workflow that works together.
So where it is matters. It's not just you sit down and you bang out a report. It's that you're in communication with someone else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be doing the report and yelling to the person out there, I didn't get this set of vitals, what did you, or I can't read what you wrote when you write this down, whatever it is. And so there's always communication in that process.
So heading upstairs, and then we do have 2 stairs, one communicating stair from the 1st and 2nd floor, and then a second stair that's used for egress, but is also an extension of the fire department's training function and affords them some training opportunities within the building.
I'm glad you brought that up again. It just seems like we have a lot of space dedicated to stairwells. Might we have just the one larger one that is dedicated, that it could be training or regular? It just feels like an awful lot of footprint for stairwells. And in a fairly short amount of space.
Yeah, so based on the occupant load that's gonna be up there, we'll need 2 points of egress from upstairs, so, yeah, it's a code-driven thing.
Travis, did you have a question?
No, I was going to say too, you need to.
You need to,
Reason for the
okay.
code.
Yeah.
Go. That's why we need an elevator too.
Fire pole.
Firepole, yeah.
So on the 2nd floor, this plan is divided into 2. So this one that we're calling the mezzanine, this is effectively the existing 2nd-story portion of the building where the chief's office is, and they have a small classroom up there. We aren't planning for any renovation in that space other than closing off the door here that'll no longer be required. this is gonna end up being additional mechanical and electrical space as well as storage space for the fire department. It won't be handicapped accessible with this renovation. Everything is on the other side, so taking the program space out of it, utilizing it for additional storage and mechanical space.
Why don't you need two means of egress there?
I think
We
we
do-
will. We may not close off the front door, we'll see.
We could leave that too. It's
There's-
because
there's a
it's.
de minimis thing, you don't need like a little
Because there are not enough people
loft,
up
you
there.
wouldn't have to have beams.
It's, yeah. So like the training room that we have on the other side of the building, that's it.
Holding a lot of
Tables and
people.
chairs like this, it's one person per every 15 square feet. For a storage or mechanical space, it's one person for every 300. So the occupant load is so low that you would really only need the one. So the remainder of the plan, so coming up this primary stair here, you come into a upper level lobby space that gives some limited access to the public should they be invited in for a training, but also prevents them from having access to the remainder of the floor. The elevator also arrives in this upper lobby space, and then directly to the south of that is the training room that will accommodate, in an isolated training function, 30 folks at tables and chairs. That backs up to the day room, kitchen, and dining room, and is divided by an acoustical folding partition, such that if the department needs their entire membership there for a membership-wide training, which could be upwards of 50 folk, by opening up that folding partition, they can accommodate that at tables and chairs. When that folding partition is closed, again, using flexible furnishings, they can combine those extra tables together to create a dining table so that they'd be able to use that as a living function. We have a small pantry, and then this corridor here essentially is lined with 5 bunk rooms, an officer bunk and 4 duty bunk, crew bunks. We have 3 restroom and showers, individual. Their lockers are wardrobes that are in the corridor, so you grab your clothes if you're spending the night and utilize the bunk. We've got a housekeeping facility, which is cleaning supplies for the floor as well as laundry services for the fire department, and then an IT network room, as well as a fitness facility. And that essentially makes up the entirety of the plans. Any questions?
And so again, the feedback that you've gotten are the 2 elements you mentioned, the decontamination shower and the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and I suspect that, as we move into the later phases of the design, the fire department and ourselves, as well as, the other governing bodies and commissions and boards that have a say in the project, may have other things that'll influence the layout slightly, and we'll be able to accommodate that.
But that would be post-funding from, that's the next phase.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, there are things that, there are gonna be questions, is this gonna affect the cost?
Yep.
If it isn't, you might get a big win out of,
Right.
a small change.
Yep.
Matt, I assume you're gonna go on to the structure too, or not? You're gonna bid that out as part of this?
That'll be part of this whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. There's not a lot to,
No, to show.
big square. So we had some, if I pull up the site plan. So going to the site plan we presented last time, we were looking at potentially doing an outbuilding over here that would store some of the ancillary vehicles, additional equipment, UTVs, things like that. One of the considerations we were thinking of is this portion of the site steps down about 10 or so feet, and there's sort of a rubble retaining wall up to the driveway here. The new building is gonna need fire protection system. We're on a well, so it's gonna need a cistern like you have throughout town that services the fire department's ability to respond to a fire. So that'll be required here as well to supply the building fire protection system. And in this case, we could actually, working with my mechanical and fire protection engineers, we had a discussion about this and talked about, which was also an idea from the chief. building that cistern down at that lower level and then building the outbuilding on top of that. So they can design the tank as a slab. To get the water from the cistern to the station requires a fire pump. When we do that as a standalone, you have to build a small structure to house that fire pump. We'd be able to put it in the outbuilding, so we'd actually be, sort of killing two birds with one stone.
It'd be like a water gas station. Go there with the tanker and you fill it up.
The purpose of it is for the building, for sprinkles,
There's a fire.
the building. But ancillary, if we can do something like that, that makes a big difference. So one of the things going forward is we won't be able to just overflow tankers for long periods of time like we kind of can now. And so the ability to do them quickly and watch them while they're happening and turn them off may be important. And if we can do that in a reasonable amount of money, yes.
What refills cisterns? Just groundwater?
We have wells on each of them, but those are just like 10-gallon-minute wells. So
So,
there's nothing small.
is there a cistern to feed the sprinkler of the main building, or that is the cistern?
That would be the cistern for the sprinkler system.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into what this thing could look like. And as with the floor plan, right, as we get into further developments down the road after this initial funding request, there'll be more opportunity to further refine the design. This is really getting down to a flavor that we can get to the estimator to establish the overall budget. And then we'll use that as sort of the goalpost that we can refine from down the road. So we've got a series of options. I got about five or six of these that we'll go through. This is the one that you saw last time. This was sort of the modern colonial type addition to the existing building. Again, we're looking at infilling the ambulance bay here, putting program space in there, so we don't need the overhead door, so we'd fill that in. And then this was looking at a fiber cement siding, gable-ended building with a full shed dormer that would bring some natural light into the upper rooms. It sort of feels a little like those windows would be really high for you, but that second story is sort of a higher, we have a higher floor to floor between the first and the second floor, so we're kind of up there. So the dormers are actually, the windows are down closer to your eye level, and that brings the gable down to try to keep the overall mass of the building as low as possible. Essentially, we've got a bit of flat roof over the bays as we come around the corner, but this is just a small gabled space with a precast concrete water table down at the base and essentially fiber cement siding. So another option we could look at, some of the comments we received last time was, it doesn't need to be sort of overly colonial. It's an existing industrial building. Let's embrace some of that industrial architecture that's over there and try to less complement the campus and more complement the site. So this is looking at a single shed roof over the training and fitness room, oriented with for maximizing solar panels. We'd have a flat roof off of the back. The chief had noted that a gable roof towards the north on their site gives them a lot of issues with ice and things like that. So keeping a flat roof to the back would help alleviate that problem. This looks at a very simple ground plane with, this could either be ground face block or a painted CMU. And on the upper floor, looking at doing more of a corrugated metal panel. So this is getting to sort of really cost-effective, low-cost, but also low-maintenance, durable materials.
I'm sorry, and what's a ground-faced block?
So it's like, I'm sorry, I should have brought some samples with me. So it's, like a CMU, like a cinder block.
Yeah.
You normally paint them out. They make them with different colored aggregates in them, and then you can grind them smooth and almost polished. So it gives a look of terrazzo almost, but at a low premium upgrade to ground face block.
And that's the kind of bumpy light gray part of the
Yep.
building over there?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that can come in any variety of
Colors.
grays and whites and beiges. And
Yeah, okay, great.
So this would be a cost-effective approach?
A very
And
cost-effective
low maintenance.
approach. Yep. One other option we could look at is sort of the same thing, but using brick as the base. Marrying it a little bit more to the existing building, it would certainly have a slightly higher cost. You know, as a material, brick isn't that much more expensive cost per square foot is masonry is, CMU, concrete masonry. But you're talking a 4x8 unit for a brick versus an 8x16 unit for
But
masonry.
it doesn't
So
age
there's
as well, right?
a little more labor, which,
The brick?
sure, yeah, it'll age the same, yeah. They're both masonry, concrete type
The
products.
brick seems to, like, it's like a less dense, it seems like it doesn't hold up for decades, does it?
Brick?
Yeah, it does.
Certainly,
The
yeah.
existing building's brick, the
Very
joints,
durable.
joints on brick can be a bigger problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
okay.
it moves a little bit,
After you clean.
heat, but.
yep. Another option we could look at, this is in line with the second one of going with the more industrial look, but looking at a completely flat roof. So this is looking at a concrete block or a ground face block base, and then using corrugated metal for the finish above and utilizing a flat roof. We've got a couple of small overhangs here to give a little bit of cover at the public entry, and then some punch windows again. I think this is sort of on the extreme of reasonable or lowest cost options. So this would be fairly inexpensive compared to the ones with the pitched roof. And then again, with the fully flat roof, we would be able to maximize that with a solar array as well.
With regard to, again, I keep coming back to the cost estimator because I'm conscious of the timeline. For tonight, do you need a direction for the cost estimator?
I think a direction in which we're leaning would be helpful, but we can certainly have the estimator. So if you were to tell me, Matt, I really like this one, but I feel like we can only afford this one, I can have our estimator
Can
give
you
us.
give us sort of delta cost on that?
I could give some deltas on a couple of things. Yeah, I mean, we also want to keep the estimator's time brief
Right.
because they're also going to be up against the gun.
Were there more options, I'm sorry, before we start?
Yep,
Okay.
got a couple more
Maybe we
options.
could finish
Yep.
that and then come back.
So this was the flat roof one. We have another option where we can certainly play with colors to help give a little bit more
Yeah.
differentiation between the lower level and the upper level. I think this is the last option that we had.
It's more expensive, I guess.
This is a little bit of a mix. So this is again a flat roof option with simple windows. This is looking at sort of a horizontal treatment of a metal panel rather than the vertical corrugated metal we had in the other options. We could mix in a little bit of fiber cement siding down below, give it a little bit more of a finish that has a scale in par with some of the residential buildings around here. And then defining the stair tower in the back more as an element rather than something that's incorporated into the building. So a little bit more architectural character with something like this. Again, I don't think any of these are vastly more expensive than any of the others. It's really just about starting to look at different options and look at things that resonate.
So so understanding that there's not a huge difference in cost, if you were to rank stack them least expensive to most expensive, what's the order?
I'd say this is probably going to be the least expensive. When we start to introduce different roofs, like a gable roof up against a flat roof, there's a little bit more detailing associated with that. So I would say this is a little bit more.
But the second floor space would be much more pleasant, right? With the higher angled ceiling or not?
It could be if we incorporate that into the spaces
Clear
below.
story, right?
Yeah. If we had some clear story windows in the backside and opened that up into the training room, certainly, yeah. It would afford a lot of natural northern light, which is preferable.
That doesn't present the icing problem, those windows on the north face?
We'd have to see how the flat one drains. We just have to go through the exercise and see how it drains. If it drains into the building, then it'll be fine.
Well,
Can't drain out of the building.
drains into the building.
Yeah, so you
So
have a
we
drain
would,
into the building that's
yeah,
deep.
in this one, because it's such a small area, we would probably pitch it to a small parapet in the back and then scupper it to downspouts and collect it.
When you're designing it, you can figure out the drainage.
Yeah.
Whatever way you want.
I know sustainability is one of the key goals of the project. In this version, you have clear solar panels at an angle. Is that a maximum position in terms of solar panels? That direction and that angle, or?
Versus the flat roof options
Like, I-
where you said
I
you
don't know
could
what-
also do solar, right?
Right, so
Yeah.
the flat roof, we'd have a larger area in which
Okay.
we could have solar panels. And then we put those on a little ballasted base. They can kick the
Or
angle up
angle
a
it.
few degrees to have a little bit more of
So
an
which
ideal angle.
one is better from a solar?
The flat roof would be better,
Which is-
just because you'd be able to you'd have more
That's option D.
Panels.
area.
D?
This one, yeah.
Or
And
the
then
other
all the
one?
rest of them were flat roof.
Yeah,
There were several options.
Yeah.
That's-
If I was to say which is gonna be the most expensive, this would
Yeah.
certainly be the most
We got that.
expensive.
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
We were going through this exercise internally, thinking about, do we present a wide range of cost aesthetics, so to speak? And I felt like, I don't think that's really the appropriate way to go, to give you more flavors that are more in line with what the budgetary
go back to the
expectations are
flat
gonna
roof
be.
options then?
Yep.
That's one, and there's
Yeah,
a couple
one,
more.
A little better, and
And then that one.
so that is a flat room option.
Correct.
And is that not, I mean, it looks a lot nicer, is it less expensive than?
That would be
Much
more expensive than this.
Of course. but
Yeah.
Is it a lot more expensive, or?
Yeah, how did,
I don't think so. I think it's gonna come down to the exact materials we pick and the way we detail it. I mean, this one has a bit more glass at the entry, which,
I like it.
I think it defines that entry space a little bit better.
I like-
Which is also a challenge because it's so far deep into the site. You kind of want it to scream, this is the way you go.
Right,
Um,
right. It's a challenge or it's a benefit?
To this,
You want that, you want that.
you,
Right.
wanna
you,
direct
you
people
want
to
that,
it.
yeah.
Right.
with,
Although your point about, I think the slanted roof might make the second floor more,
A little
but
more
this one-
open.
in terms of the interior, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
of firefighters spending the night
Right,
and,
yeah.
living,
Right, but the flat panel,
socializing
the
here.
flat, I mean, we do have to make some consideration to the environmental impact.
Oh, yeah,
Solar
absolutely.
panels, I think
Yeah.
that's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
is that part of the project? Are we building this with solar? Or is that something that gets added later?
What I've always said is, it would be a separate town meeting vote. In other words, we need a station, and the town will have an opportunity to put solar panels on it.
Yeah,
They would
because
like-
that requires a conversation with Eversource and.
With who?
Eversource.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a
But
lot
it'll be
of,
designed
maybe a
so that
separate
one
source
can
of
do it,
funding.
right, and the
It's
electrical
a-
and everything.
Some
would be
areas are
designed
like
to-
glutted, and it's a multi-year wait process just to get solar.
Well,
I
a lot of that
agree.
is the transformers and stuff, and they're gonna have to go ahead and do that anyway to put this building in. Our existing electrical service can't handle.
But, you would want it, you design to accommodate it, but wouldn't you also want to construct it in construction?
not necessarily, it's not, in municipal construction, it's not typically the way that
Okay.
these are
You build it and
done.
then you
You
figure-
build it and then you add it on. We just did the same thing with Lexington, with their police station and fire station. We did the building solar ready. We did a separate project afterwards to bring solar into it and build solar canopies. A lot of it has to do with, those are sort of specialized contractors that live in their bubble, and
So what, in the municipal building, this size, like, what's the payback roughly of the cost of adding it and then getting back the juice from the grid?
it's a little hard for me to say at the moment with all the, a lot of the tax rebates starting to sunset in the coming months. We don't know what that.
has it been in the past?
I think most people use, I'm not a solar panel designer or expert in this, but I want to say that most people were using 7 to 10 years as a payback cycle for them.
okay,
You wouldn't
so-
do that in your house, right?
But so what you'd like from us tonight is some sense of which of these
Yeah.
feels, or. that
Feels
you would think-
closer to the direction that I think we want to be
Yeah,
heading in.
Yeah,
I mean, for my money, something like this, where I think we want something that is aesthetically pleasing, but is not,
Taj Mahal.
not the Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
Functional, but not, I mean, it has to,
So I agree,
So,
toss
you
out
know,
A.
understanding that this is not, because we talked about this is not like, it's the balance between, this is the direction we're going, and the design process will refine and evolve this.
Right, exactly.
But something like this, because I think the other ones, I think aesthetically.
Let's go, just.
Well, what's the
through them.
modern industrial, oh, that's the one with the
It's this,
sloped roof.
you're looking at it.
No,
Well, there was another one in that.
there was a second one that he showed.
This one, the simple industrial.
No, I think
The one
Marty
with the-
wants the sloping.
that one.
This one.
That was called modern industrial.
They're all called modern.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
I didn't change the
But
last
this
one.
one, okay, but it sounds like this one is not as useful in terms of the solar panels. And then what's the one, the next one is simple industrial,
Right.
which was which is that one.
That was
It's
the most
pretty
cost efficient.
Unattractive.
Yeah, it's a little.
It's too
Well,
boxy. I mean,
I guess I'd be interested in the
People have to like
difference,
this.
you know, the difference,
It has to look good.
how
Yeah.
big the difference in price is between the simple industrial and
I
the
mean,
last modern
I guess,
industrial.
listen, if we're gonna spend 15, 16, 17 million dollars, and if they come back and it's, you know, I don't know, a couple $100,000 for some aesthetics, like, so what? Like, make it look nice. I drive by, you know, Acton or Westford or any of these, like, I'm drooling at those buildings, like, they look nice, like, make it look nice, you know?
Well, okay,
You know,
Functional.
yeah, but
Functional, but it should.
Functional and cost effective but with a nice aesthetic to
I
it.
do like, you know, again, the way you've integrated the brick and the not brick, you know.
Yeah.
I think the entrance is, having a more, I mean, the hope is that the training room can be used for, not just the fire department, but there are occasions where we can use that for community training, whether it be CPR, and having a nice entrance is kind of a nice thing that we certainly don't have right now in our fire station.
Mhm.
So it looks good, and I also think there's a benefit, a functional benefit to having that.
So that's our favorite.
Can you take a question from our planning?
Sure, yeah. Do you have a question, please?
Just say, Sarah Cassidy Smith, from an architectural point of view, I'm an architect, this to me looks like it's working with the sort of, I don't know, aesthetic of the existing building, like,
Yeah.
this is sort of, looks like it's all one building.
It's
or
that
it
conversation
sort of
between the
looks
two
like an add-on.
parts, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Just,
Good.
I agree.
good to hear. Want any public input?
Oh.
Good, yeah, good.
So that's our favorite, I
Okay.
guess, right?
Yep.
But should we also have them do one of the low-cost ones, the lowest cost ones, just to calibrate it, or? I don't care.
I'll ask the question and see what sort of breakdown my estimator can pull together.
If there's a simple back of the napkin estimate, so we, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Great.
You've come a long way.
What do you think?
I think some of the issues with, you know, if you had an 8-foot ceiling, it's gonna be different than a 10-foot ceiling, and you can fix that cheaply, even with flat ceiling, so we just have to make sure it functions the way we need.
So, one question, just, I think you answered before, but, like today, when you have a call fire, when you have a fire and everybody drives their cars, where do they park all their cars?
So he has something in design, I'm not sure that's the right answer and the final answer, so we're gonna have to work on that.
What's the today version? There's
I
no
just
room
drove by
there.
it and there was cars lined all around here,
I'm not seeing where you're putting your
Upper
Yep.
left.
Yep.
upper left. Just about everywhere there was a place to put a car, there was a car.
And that would, but now there'll be less room, right, because there's.
There will be.
more building, right? So, is it like,
How much less?
We,
So the tents are right now taking up a lot of the space that really should be parking.
In the back,
So there's,
yeah.
you know,
Which is-
there's
which
some,
is
some
here.
areas that are, you know, and there's an inch in there and all that. I have a feeling that by the time we're done on this right-hand side, the spaces he shows there, I think are gonna continue back there, and we're gonna figure out a way to make that work. Because that's the most natural.
you can't
place
pave in
to
the
put 'em.
blue, right?
Well, I think we need to have some discussions about that.
How about that front
That
lawn?
is really just a drain for your parking lot here. whether you, you know, anyway, we may have to have
We're
that
in that
discussion.
white building over to
Yeah.
the Anglin one, right here.
And so that's your parking lot, it comes down and it drains, and then the drain goes into this thing. It's not really a stream, it's something that was created to drain your parking lot.
Mm.
And so
Detention basin.
yeah, to say that, anyway, we need to have that discussion. 'Cause that would make a big difference to be able to
I
park.
mean, typically, how many cars come through?
So a fire is about 20 people, 20 to 25 people.
Bicycle to work day.
Which we're up around 24 or so, 25 parking spaces in this layout. I think we'll get more. To your question of why not the
That's
the
dead
hill in the
space,
front,
yeah.
That was,
We got
on the
about-
record, that was
I know.
Ms. Stevens said that, right?
we got about 10, 12 feet of grade here, so we'd be taking away it'd be a lot of cost per parking space to add.
It wouldn't be a
Okay.
good look.
Yeah. It doesn't look great now.
No, it doesn't look great.
You're right.
At least it's free.
What about an underground parking garage? Would that be enough? Have you looked at that? With another-
With
40,000,
lifts, right.
but those are running about $40,000 to $50,000 per parking space.
Per
so.
parking space.
Oh, do they?
Whoa. You mean the
For a parking
current?
garage? Yeah.
Oh, for a garage, yeah.
All right.
So I think you have enough information to proceed with the cost estimator.
Indeed.
I've been talking with Antonia and Matt at Tecton around the outreach plan. I know we don't have a lot of time to talk about this, but I'm meeting tomorrow with Gretchen to go over getting the initial project page up on the town website, and that project page would include initially some brief text articulating the project goals and links to some background information and presentations that were made along the way. So providing project background, linking to the recent town meeting approval, which discussed the status of the fire station and also had some video assets. So there's a fair amount of existing assets that can go up there. We have two events, one on, and we can schedule more, but the first would be September 22nd. I talked to both Matt and the chief about doing a fire station tour for residents that would essentially show the existing fire station. Tecton would provide poster boards and some imagery that would show what's contemplated in the new station. And so it's a chance to see what exists now and also educate people initially on what the new station would be achieving. And that would obviously, we would post a video along with that. We probably wouldn't video the tour, but we'd basically have an existing conditions video that hits those points. On the 16th of October,
14th, right?
I'm sorry, is it the 16th, 14th? Yes, sorry,
14
I wrote the wrong. On the 14th of October, I spoke with Matt about doing the public kind of formal presentation where he would present in the Clark Room. The plan, all the information, we'd have the cost estimator information at that point. So that would be a full kind of public forum presentation. At 7 and at 6, offer a second opportunity to do a station tour, so people can come at 6, do a tour, walk up here, and get the full presentation. We'd also post a video of that on the project site, and then we would gauge how much interest there is, and we could certainly add additional tours, and the presentations would be available online. So if we wanted to do another one prior to town meeting, or if we find after the first one in September that people are coming out in droves, we can add more. And I know the chief is accommodating. And once we have the assets from Tecton, we can get those up and running pretty quickly. I'm also talking with Gretchen and Aubrey about doing the social media outreach to promote the tours, promote the website, just get the word out. And then we do need to engage the other committees. Certainly, FinCom is someone I'm talking to. We want to talk to the planning board, obviously, Board of Health, ESC.
Yeah.
And so what I would propose there is, again, there's a lot of existing information.
too, right?
What's that?
MFC.
MFC, certainly, yeah. And you know, the members on most of those committees were also on the apparatus committee, so there's some pretty
I
good.
mean, you want to get those endorsements pre-lined up.
Yeah. And so there, what I could do is put together a brief presentation that highlights some of these things that
Yeah.
then the liaisons and me or Travis can go and present to them, probably in October, because this was the conversation I had with Matt was, it's going to the cost estimator. It's like, so what's it's going to cost? We've had the range of this 14 to 16, but we can't really say what it's going to cost till we have the information from the cost estimator. So it's
So that is when you think reasonable
end of
finality?
September.
If I get them, my deal with them is I get them documents by the end of the day tomorrow,
So
and they'll have it by the end of the month.
Because we run into this all the time.
But then,
So I'd want
but then I need time to
Oh,
review
that's
it
right,
and
right.
format it into an actual total project budget.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the early October.
October
But for
6th-ish.
Scott, so
Yeah.
planning board meets like every week now, right? Every week.
Oh, I don't know,
Sarah,
Sarah,
you
well,
guys
Sarah.
meet like all the time, right? Like you're meeting every day?
Pretty much.
They're in a meeting right now.
ESC meets every other week, I believe.
Yeah. Ideally, we'd line people up kind
That's what
of
I'm
the
saying.
first half of
It's-
October.
And now though, in the second half of September, you need to reach out to the chairs.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah, no.
say, I wanna be
Yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah.
agenda on this meeting day.
Yes, exactly.
Does
yeah.
anybody only meet monthly of the groups you need?
I don't think so. We'll find out. But my goal would be to meet with people in that beginning, first half of October.
Right.
Once we have,
Yeah, right. Once you have some good costs and you
Yep.
give a pitch, right?
yeah.
So that's the thing that's easy to miss, is to forget.
No, I
tell the
know.
chairs to put it on the agenda.
No, I
on
know.
this day.
I'm well aware of that process right now with all of our meetings.
Are you doing any kind of visual tour of it, like a CAD 3D tour?
Of the addition?
Yes.
We can develop that.
Was that in the scope or thinking about of your marketing and stuff?
If
Was
it's
that
in the
just-
scope or not, we can do that.
Well, we had talked
And
about a
put it
video.
online.
I guess that's kind of what I
think
was.
it's effective,
It's a
or it
virtual-
was for the library
It's a
and.
meta video.
It's not difficult for us to do. So we already have, aside from the exterior details we talked about tonight, the entire new building has been already modeled and developed, so.
So we can put some- yeah.
Yeah, we can put that together, I wouldn't say super quickly, but within this time frame that we're talking
I
about.
mean, people's attentions, I think the Buzz building is pretty much October.
Yeah, but, you know, that we want to do an event in September
Oh, yeah,
and
no,
get
no,
all
no,
that
you should.
rolling.
I think this is a good calendar, I'm just saying,
Yep.
like for Matt, like really putting the social media, if you do it too early. but-
No, I know, yeah. But you don't want to wait too long because it's pretty soon, it's end of October and Halloween and, so there'll be more on that and I'll update the select board. Again, I'm meeting with Gretchen tomorrow to work through some of the blocking and tackling up, using the mosquito in terms of either taking out ads, we're looking at getting information on doing a mailer potentially for October. And certainly, post-town meeting, if this were to approve, we gotta get people out to vote.
Right, which would be
Concord has
scheduled,
approved it.
um,
We have to talk about that.
okay,
It's coming up next. but-
okay.
So, Chief Soros, what's your candy budget like? You have like a big candy budget for Halloween? Oh, yeah. Make sure every kid that gets his candy gets a little thing that he gives to his parents.
A sticker that
A
says.
sticker.
That's literally what,
I support that, yeah.
what is that, like the Saturday, that's
It's
like
Friday, right? Isn't it?
It's Friday night this year, yeah,
It's gonna be
it's
a zoo.
perfect.
No, I'm
Ooh.
serious.
Friday
Yeah.
before, yep.
Buy a bunch of candy, but you can't have it at the fire station because it's off the path. You'll have to do it at.
No, we've
Whatever
been in the
Ferns
center
is
the
at.
last number of years.
Yeah,
I don't
Right.
think
with
you
the
guys have done
ambulance.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, anyway, so we'll pull all the levers,
Yeah.
and get the word out.
All right, good. Sounds great.
All right.
As a full board, I will continue to give my recommendations that at some point you should create a fire station.
Yes, we do have to do. that.
Building committee.
But
to
but
pass.
when though? Before the town meeting or once?
When you feel good about the design, I think it's time to, I would recommend to you that it's time to pass off the details of this to a committee.
For what details of getting the town meeting thing wrestled down?
Like, a lot of this could be handled by a committee.
Mhm.
But I think what you were worried about was the changing of designs and the adding of costs, but as long as that's settled, I think this detailed work
So
would be better.
what would
suited.
that look like? Who would be on it and how would you, takes a while, right? It took you a while to.
I was planning on just doing it with Tecton. I mean, Tecton has a lot of support. I mean, we have draft flyers and stuff.
Ryan, I don't think that we'd be able to stand up a committee
Yeah,
before
I'm
town
not
meeting. I'd say
necessarily-
let's get the thing funded and then hand it
Yeah,
off
I
to
think
the
we-
committee.
I agree with that.
We do need a building committee. Whether or not we need it before the town meeting or if once it's approved, we should probably start the process of putting that committee together. Because if it is approved at town meeting,
I mean, channeling my wife who constantly reminds me not to jinx things, I would say do it after town. Get it approved.
Yeah.
And then stand up the thing.
I do tend to listen when Ryan speaks, so Ryan was suggesting.
Well, he was suggesting
He was
offloading the
suggesting to
logistics
do
of
this,
this.
and I just wondered, is that for a particular reason, or is it just for the public input aspect, or what?
It's more for the agility of meeting with the designers now that the design has been finalized. It takes a lot to come to your meetings and to squeeze it in.
What meetings from a design standpoint, between now and town meeting, do you need a committee?
But if you just had.
I don't think so.
dealt with
No, not between now and town meeting.
You,
Yeah.
I mean,
After town meeting, there's gonna be a lot of detailed decisions to be made.
Yeah, I think,
Right.
yeah, and I think I'll just ask for help when I need it. And again, I think Tecton has good capabilities in terms of creating assets and videos and all those things, and the chief is helpful, and I know where to find you and Gretchen and Aubrey, so, and I can tap, other people, like, in terms, if we need to. And we have the fire apparatus committee that could, is still a thing, even though it's not really what this is, but.
The second piece, can you coordinate with CMS
Yeah.
for the cost estimates?
That's important.
We do have to get CMS back engaged.
And we do need to, because they've come off the project per your direction, so I'll need to know when they.
So they're not spending money is what you're saying?
Not right now, no.
Who we
They
get?
need to be brought in.
They need to re-engage, cause I saw Neil at the fire
Yeah.
station
Yeah.
thing, and has no visibility into where this is at, so they need to
Right.
get back up to speed, yeah.
Right, okay.
So I think sooner is better on that.
Good.
Which is before town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should introduce the whole team and
Yeah.
engage.
But you're not using them as cost estimators. You have
I'll see
your-
Neil tomorrow.
You have your own, you have your
For
own.
another project.
Matt, you've got your own cost estimators?
Correct.
But aren't they also cost estimators, CMS, or the?
No.
Okay. Good.
No, and publicly, Tecton has been great to work with in this, in terms of you working with the chief and Antonia helping out with the community outreach, and that's part of what we brought them in to do was community outreach as well, so.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
OPM costs, design contingency, and then eventual product contingency.
Yes.
I would wanna see that.
that, yeah, I was gonna ask where are we on our budget for what we passed at town meeting? We'll find out, or?
For this stage, we're good. It's we need to bring the number for the next stage, which includes all the things we
The
just
town
discussed.
meeting number, yeah.
Because that'll be the trigger for the debt exclusion vote.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Antonia.
Thank you.
Let me make sure I do this right this time. I'm gonna
Yeah,
leave. I'm gonna leave.
Just,
Oh, you made me co-host, so I can't leave for all.
no, just take them out.
One thing though, the October 14th, presentation, that is also a select board meeting night.
We've talked about shifting our dates to the 7th and 21st.
Ah.
At the last.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have to remind me of that.
Okay.
whatever
I
we
missed that,
agreed to.
I forgot what we
Okay,
We'll talk about that tonight.
okay.
Because that was presupposing we weren't having a select board meeting that night.
This is October
Yes,
14th,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
If we are, then
Go
we
over
can
that, yeah.
move that.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
All right, thank you. Next up,
Thank
we
you
have
very
the
Thank you.
special town meeting article status update. So, we'll take it in the order it's listed. So let's start with the MBTA communities zoning.
You're here again.
Yeah,
we
actually just left.
Yeah.
Been switching in the parking lot.
So in terms of scope of what we want to talk about, I think first and foremost, we just want to get an understanding. I know there was a discussion last night around the approach to town meeting, and there's this whole logistic portion of how many articles and how is this thing presented. And then there's the scenarios themselves. Where are you at in that process? I know you have the public hearings coming up in a couple of weeks. So maybe just give us a download of status in terms of all those different moving parts.
Sure. So right now we've got we've got a bunch of different steps to go through right now. We've got several different zoning language for several different approaches is actually being reviewed by HLC, like a pre-review, with no sites selected, just to get the different strategies that we're thinking about for compliance, to get approval with them from HLC. And the AG's office also
The
has
Attorney
that,
General's
right?
office and Town Council, yes. So the entities at the state level that will determine compliance are currently reviewing the zoning.
Are currently what?
Reviewing the draft zoning.
The draft loaning,
Does-
draft zoning language without specific sites attached.
HLC is Harrington?
Yes.
And how many?
No, HLC is Housing and Livable Communities,
State
Executive
office.
Office, yeah.
Oh, state office.
Formerly known as DHCD.
AKA, no.
Sorry.
How many different
Yeah.
zoning things are, like, how many different bylaws are there?
Approaches?
Or approaches, or is it all baked into one bylaw, or is it distinct thing, like?
Yeah,
how's
have you
this all-
figured
the
that
way
out
we're
yet?
gonna do it, right, is essentially, well, within one warrant article. Yeah, do you wanna
Well, so
Yeah.
there's
explain
three
this better?
approaches,
Right.
right? So the memo, when I was here in August,
Right.
I gave you guys a memo that kind of outlined that there are three approaches,
Right.
right? So they're commonly referred to as scattered sites, cluster development, and one site, right?
Right.
And it's based on like the amount of units within a certain geographic area and how dispersed that is, right?
Right.
And then there are a couple different permutations for some of those approaches, right? There's a lot of sites still on the table that could be combined in different ways to get to the unit count required.
Are you planning on having one
Um,
permutation per thing for town meeting, or are you?
That remains to be seen.
That remains to be seen, that's what we're trying to get to. Part of that will depend on what we hear back from HLC, that potentially could take something off the table. I would lean towards thinking that if all of them, they say you could take either, we'll probably have one site, probably, and my guess would be one cluster approach and the one that will probably need to be a hybrid of this cluster and scattered approach, because we need to have 50% of the acreage in one location, so that kind of default, there's one sort of
You have
larger
to have
cluster,
that.
we do.
Yeah.
Acreage, not units. So that's what's
Why
being,
did they-
this is,
What was the logic of that?
if it's next to an MBTA station, it makes sense, but we're not, but we still have to follow that. So there's a lot of different things we have to comply with, but we did take a lot of sites off the table last night. So we are, going through the process of collecting as much data as possible. We've got sort of these scorecards that looked at, we got input from as many different boards and committees that we could. So ESC, Historic, Conscom, the fire chief came to a meeting, land use, who else did we talk to? Safety.
So many. Yeah,
Everyone that we could
Yeah.
get input from, we did. And then we also have the consultant group that we received funding for at town meeting, which is great, and he's been providing us with incredibly helpful feedback on like sort of soil condition and site condition, and so that's really helping us understand too the potential of each site and what sites we might want to take off, and what the sort of unit capacity is of the different sites. So we're trying to go forward with as much data as possible. So we're factoring in all that sort of objective data, but also the survey feedback from the town. So we're kind of landing on the sites that were high in both, right? So scored well in both the survey and the feedback from as many town boards and committees we can get input from. So that's how we're trying to pick the sites. But then also kind of, but yeah, my guess to answer your question is if I had to guess after last night, we'd end up with sort of a one site and one that's scattered clusters, and then another that's sort of more geographically dispersed with combination of
So it's,
a
but it
cluster
basically
and
it boils down to two choices.
Well,
They're different, the
It might be
mix of the
three.
choice.
Sounds like
Well, it's
three.
The discussion with Wayne last night, we've been talking to, Wayne has been thinking about this a lot. I've had
No
several
kidding.
discussions with him. It's been really great in sort of strategizing about this. So his recommendation was that, 3, he said if you really feel like you need to bring 4 to the table, you do, but I'm hoping to land with no more than 3. And then the 4th choice would be for people that are not supportive of this, they could always vote no, right? So
Well, you
there's
can
always
no,
that option.
no, that should not be an option.
Well, it shouldn't be an option, but
Their option is to not vote.
no, they
vote
actually
yes.
have to vote no.
You have to
Really?
let them
Yes.
vote.
No, they could vote, they could not
But-
pass it.
Yeah.
Sarah, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. The objective is that one of those
Yes.
combos will get the most votes?
Yes.
And is there statutorily for town, is it pure majority?
It does need to be 50%.
So, but are you allowed to vote for more than one thing?
Yeah, Wayne's got it all
I
strategized
know
on
he
how he
does,
thinks
but-
he's gonna do that. So
Okay,
yes, so,
but
so
statutorily, you-
his concept was there's 3 on the table.
Yeah.
Everybody can vote for 3 or 2 or 1 or
Right,
none, right? But
right.
so everybody votes and then
Right.
he takes the top 2
And he does a runoff,
something like that,
but you
yeah.
end up with one.
You end up with absolutely just 1.
And it's
Right.
only in the case where, I mean, again, they could vote for something and then change their mind and vote no in the later round. And-
Yeah,
Correct.
but he's thinking through the mechanics of
Yeah.
the voting and talking to other town moderators and see how they've done it and, we're trying to think really
Well, that's a
carefully
good
about the
question. Have
logistics of town
other-
meeting.
In your knowledge of other town meetings where they've covered MBTA, has it been typically, how many options? Do you know anything?
There's been a number of communities that have done more than one option.
Yeah.
Something that Wayne has been strategizing with town council and with staff and
Mhm.
the board is like how many warrant articles it would be. And so
Mm.
what they've kind of landed on and we've landed on is like one warrant article with different options in that warrant article, because that will help with the debate and the town
Right,
meeting procedures,
yeah,
and then,
right.
and landing on just one at the end of the day,
The
right?
goal is to land on one.
Yeah.
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 For your public hearing, it's September 29th.
Ninth.
We have 3 of them, September 29th.
It opens on the 29th and
Yes.
continues on
Do
the
you-
6th and the 20th.
Do you intend to have, are those public hearings, here are the options that will be presented at town meeting, or will they still be taking feedback, or will they still be evolving?
Those are
Well,
dates.
I mean, the intent is to still take feedback, but to be hopefully closer to, we have a meeting on the 15th, we have another meeting on the 22nd. Hopefully narrow as much as we can, pushing hard to do that. So that's the intent, is to limit, to keep limiting the closer
Right.
we get with the more input we get from other people. So, again, we need to really wait for the input from HLC to understand.
And will the-
when is that coming?
Next week.
Early next week is what
Next
the
week.
state has told me. Yeah.
So is it possible that they'll disqualify one of any of the options as
It's-
not meeting?
For sure, yeah.
The properties.
So you may.
We have
Not
some
the
out of the
properties,
box.
The-
sort of zoning strategies.
Right,
Oh,
we have
okay.
s-
So you may end up with only 2 when they get done
Yeah.
passing out what they don't
We
want.
could.
Right, yeah.
But there's no chance it would be only one, right? You'd go back to the drawing. I mean, you've gotten all this input, said you have to have more than one choice, right? So.
I would be surprised if you guys settled on one.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a settling on, it's whether.
Well, I
Can
do
they
think
disqualify or just say
I think
it's
the
not a
intent
recommended
is that people will be more likely to be supportive of this if they have an option.
Right.
So,
You're talking about HLC though.
I'm saying,
Yes.
if
They
HLC
came
says,
back and
would
said-
they say this doesn't qualify, or they'd say it's not a recommended approach?
no, they would say either this zoning approach does not
Meet the.
comply.
I think they would give specific feedback. I don't think they would throw the whole thing out.
Right.
Okay.
They would
So
say
that's why
these
maybe
aspects
I
of
should
what you're
rephrase it.
doing.
If they
don't
came back
comply. Yeah,
Yeah.
and said, these 2 of the 3 or whatever don't comply, you would have to figure out which of those you could make comply, right? You try to get one back
Or you
into.
could present at least 2 options.
My understanding is they've got 3 approaches,
Yeah.
and under each approach, they have multiple sites defined.
Correct.
And they're reviewing each of those sites with
Oh,
the
it would be
HLC.
sites within the.
Right, so maybe, under approach 1, they've got
Well,
6
fair
sites under
shaking on it.
consideration.
Let me hear it from you. When we go on November 2nd,
Mhm.
is it your belief that you will be able to present at least 2 packages that have compliance, that comply with the intent of the law?
That's the hope, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And HLC guides us through that. Is there an iterative loop on that?
yes.
Do you have like a pencils down date where, you have, I mean, because,
Well, the warrant has to be signed on the 7th.
well, you want, presumably,
Yeah.
you want to socialize the specifics and I'm assuming you're going to take a position and you'll want to ask other boards to take positions on things in particular. And
Mhm.
so, at some point, it gets late in the game, right, for
Yeah.
people to.
We're trying, yeah. Yeah, no, I fully hear you.
I mean, the
Yeah.
absolute pencils down date would be like before the motions booklet has to print, right? Ideally, before that.
When is that?
Does it even have to be in the motions booklet?
The zoning language
You can't
needs to print in the
hand out a
motions
flyer
booklet.
at the meeting.
I mean,
We can.
yeah, but,
Right, so actually, there is no super drop down there.
Legally, you don't need a motions booklet, but
Right. In theory, you could
traditionally
be
do.
handing out
Right.
the motion, you just don't want to be there.
I feel like we're making progress and
Yes.
getting more decisive.
yes, and the meetings are very interesting. I say that, it sounds like a joke, but it's real. Just the amount of work the
Mhm.
board's doing, the conversations they're having, the water, wastewater subject matter expert funded by town meeting is excellent. Like, they're really doing this in a smart way. So,
We had FinCom came last
Yep.
night too and presented. They had come to us originally, I think in April, and then they did a bunch of outreach and collected information from other boards to understand, if sort of the maximum population build out happened, what would that mean for all the different towns and departments? And their takeaway was so far was positive, and that the revenue would outpace the cost to the town, which is helpful to know. And that's significantly more families you live with. That their assumption was a family in every unit, and that's kind of not what this town has seen in the sort of demographic makeup of the multifamily.
Then how could they reach,
So, but
how
that's
could FinCom reach that conclusion?
it's a conservative estimate.
Yep.
No, I mean,
Yep.
if the presumption is there's a family in every unit,
Mhm.
that means there's somewhere between $16,000 and $50,000 of educational costs at every unit. There's
Well,
nowhere
they
near
talked
that.
to
They're
the
being
top to
most conservative, they're,
Yep.
they're assuming the
Yes.
highest cost.
Right, but then how could you say that it would be
Well,
more
'cause they would-
revenue in than more revenue cost out? There's no way that that would work.
So with scales, a student, if you bring in a student,
Yeah.
it's not that per pupil cost. So you would have to bring in, say, 10 students in one grade in order to have a teacher added, for example. So at some level, you can absorb new students across, as long as they're
Special ed
not
is
all
the
in
You
big-
one.
will go broke if you try to do marginal pricing on your stuff. It doesn't work that way. That is wrong. And whoever did it at FinCom is wrong.
Well,
You
they
take
worked
the
with-
average, it may go down because you have more students, but the cost is cost per pupil.
We can take that up with.
You can
It's
take
not-
that up with, we're staying out of that. We
I'm
feel
telling
like
you, though,
we
that's
should
not
let
that dissimilar.
FinCom do their own objective analysis
Yes.
with the other boards.
Since I'm on FinCom, I know what we did. So
Okay.
the FinCom didn't do the analysis, they asked CPS, here's the scenario that we got
Right.
from the planning board.
Right.
And if this number of people with this average number of,
Yeah.
children
Right,
per
right, yeah.
household, I forget what the number of new students would be, 60 or something.
Okay. So adding.
Whatever it was, it said, it asked them to estimate what would the cost be, and they estimated it.
But they know nothing about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Mark
Mark.
Bernstein's,
Thank you.
like 43 Peter Hans.
Sorry.
Okay.
on his-
For
So
the
anyway,
record.
it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not really an economic thing, it's a compliance with the law thing, right?
But
Isn't
I
it?
think a lot of people's argument was that it'll
Yeah.
be a
huge
financial
detriment.
burden, and that's not the case,
Or
and,
one scenario versus another.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go there
Yeah.
personally.
yep. So anyways, that, we've reached out to them, and they are going to take a position, they think, on that. And I've met with, school committee chair, and we have a planning board member going to school committee next week, and they've been quite supportive so far. They might take they might take a stand on one or two of them, and, they might have we'll see where they land on, if they have a preference for sort of the all at once versus gradual. And
So you're
I'm
seeking
thinking,
various committee approvals
Yes.
for,
yeah.
to line up behind it.
And that's
Whichever-
the hope. We're still trying to get input from some of them, honestly, but yes,
So do you want
we-
that
we are
from
working
us?
on that.
Do we,
that would be great if you would.
Yeah, we'll have to.
let's work.
We'll have to
What,
map that out too.
Yeah.
What's the role of the Board of Health, and what analysis are they doing in terms of assessing the public health impact of the different options?
I know you're asking them, but I'm also the liaison, so.
Okay, I'm asking
Please.
them.
Oh, you're asking, he said he's asking you.
That's a complicated question. We've asked, so they came in April, and they gave, their opinion was that you should try to site it near the edge of town so that you can get town water, or you can get piped water and sewer from another town, which we cannot zone for. We cannot put that in zoning. We can't mandate that. So, Tony is how, Tony was on the subcommittee for a while, giving as much input as he could. We actually put in a request for some information from the Board of Health a couple weeks ago, and they asked for a delay, that they couldn't do it. It was too much. They'd like to recommend a different set of input. So we're kind of still working on the information that they're willing to supply. So my understanding is actually Tony's coming in and sorting through records. To help
Tony's
us
coming in what?
and helping to sort through records. So we're trying to assess like where there's been any known issues of welfare failure, and understanding that a lot of people don't report that, right? So all we can know is all we can know, but we're trying to get as much data as we can. So Tony's looking for like fracking data and things like that. So we did take sort of one whole potential neighborhood off because we had heard there's a lot of well failures. So we're trying to understand that. We also have had some great input from Hancock Associates, our consultant that town meeting funded, has had some really helpful input about the difference between a DEP regulated well, which is any more than 24 bedrooms. So there's some inherent protections there, and so I think maybe some of us are starting to lean forward, thinking about the strategies that have all public wells, which would be anything over maybe 12, probably 12 units, or depending on the average of units per bedrooms per unit. So there's some inherent protections that could afford. So some of the strategies would have more public water supply wells than not. So lots of things to factor in.
Right. We're running short on time, and I'm told Alex is here to talk about the wetland bylaw.
Okay.
So obviously this is, we don't need to ask about the outreach plan and all that. I know you guys are
doing as much. Yeah, we've doing a lot of that.
And then one other note that I'll follow up with the select board member is we do need to find a date for a joint meeting to appoint the vacant planning board seat.
Right.
And so one proposal was the planning board meeting on September 22nd. I would prefer not to do it during the public hearing meeting.
Yep.
So that's one potential date I'll ask.
Do we have a select board meeting then, or that's?
That would be on the 23rd. This would be on Monday.
Okay, so this is our unending.
There are two applicants.
Okay.
And
And what date did you just say?
September 22nd.
September.
You want us to pencil that in?
Okay.
Again, calendar notices would be awesome.
We're gonna send them all to you.
I'm thinking this like avalanche.
Well, we haven't finalized that date. I'll follow up with you separately, and we'll see if that works.
But again, what do you need from select board that day? I mean, usually you want to go around to each of the boards and everyone's nodding their assent or presenting their position. What does the select board need to endorse, or, I mean, we're not getting behind one approach. Every approach is stand on its own merit with each voter. So what does the select board?
We need to decide what we want to do in terms of, we've
select
expressed
board.
a goal to comply with the MBTA Communities Act.
Yes,
So that,
absolutely.
I think, we've voiced our support in our annual goal. I mean, we can do that formally again, but we've voiced our support for compliance. Now it comes down to the scenarios, and I think up to this point, we've kind of stopped at what we need to comply, to your point, but we do need to discuss that.
Right. It's a question, right, I mean, the value add is that we emphasize that we need to come up with a solution.
Yeah. But again, I want to keep things moving, and I know Alex is here, so we'll follow up. I'll get back. I'll check in with everyone on the 22nd, and then we'll see if that date works.
Yeah, and just keep me in the loop, and we'll figure out if that for some reason that date just doesn't work. Let me know. We'll figure something else out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
You
you.
both for
Yeah.
coming and all
Good
you're
work.
doing. Jeez, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
we
work.
know.
Thank you.
We know.
I'm home stretch.
Alex, I see you out there.
We hope.
Do you want to say a few words about the wetland bylaw?
Sure. Thanks a lot. I assume you got answers to your questions from Megan. In a general way, I would just say we've presented to the Board of Health, we've presented to the Sustainability Committee, we've presented to CRAC, and of course there was a preliminary presentation to you folks a while back. there's still a lot of work to be done. The commission is holding a public hearing on a couple of days from now on the 11th to get feedback, input from the public. I'm going to recommend to the commission that they consider putting this on the annual town meeting in the spring rather than the fall town meeting. Principally, I think it's really important for this bylaw to get a planning board review, because the primary interaction in a regulatory way will be between the requirements of the planning board for subdivisions and other requirements, including the MBTA zoning and the proposed bylaw. My sense is, the planning board, for obvious and very good reasons, is focused on the MBTA zoning right now. And there are additional, or at least one additional proposed bylaw for this fall town meeting, which is the demolition delay bylaw. I just think, given the amount of work that the commission still needs to do, the fact that this hasn't been reviewed by town council yet, hasn't been submitted to town council yet, and the timing of things that would be better served, the town would be better served by putting this on in the spring town meeting. So that I just wanted to communicate that to you, and I'm sure the commission will be back to you after their public hearing on the 11th, a couple of days from now.
And just to confirm, do you think they'll take a position on that on the 11th?
I would hope so. I'm not on the commission, so I can't answer that. But I mean, I've had
What does that mean? He's not on the-
discussions, and I think the chair would be supportive of putting it on the spring town meeting.
Okay.
Who's the chair of the council?
And
George Shepherd.
George Shepherd, yes.
So, no for that?
So,
Guess that tells you something.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the sooner we know, the better, just given the meeting logistics we're contemplating.
Well,
So,
it just unburdens the Monday night, right?
yeah,
Which
Yes,
is big.
yeah.
You guys couldn't convince historical commission to do the same. But that was your mission tonight.
No.
well,
All right.
if you get rid of the MBTA zoning article and the demolition delay bylaw, we'd be happy to go forward.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the update. Alex, we'll check in on the 11th and see where that stands. And do you just want to touch on the CPC?
Just
You had sent
briefly.
around the information?
Yeah, I don't know if folks, if you all had a chance to read that. It's very straightforward, really. Just really briefly, at the last town meeting, inadvertently, the amount requested and approved by CPA and recommended to town meeting should have been 68,000, and then it was on the warrant as 48,000, and nobody caught it ahead of time. So town approved 48,000. And so Scott and I have talked, Scott and Ryan have talked about the question you raised, Christine, where the actual paving bid came in significantly lower than what they had planned. So this memo, I just tried to describe where we are, and if you look at the sort of the last page, the new budget estimate, this shows that, can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you want to put it up, Ryan, but maybe you should, for the benefit of other people that are on the Zoom. Anyway, so the actual paving bid was 8,500 lower. And the site survey is sort of the unknown, the engineering work that has to get done. There are 4 new parking spaces proposed and ramps, and then the question of water runoff, so we don't know if that's gonna be.
Are those bids will be honored after November?
The paving bid?
Yeah.
Yeah, the paving is going ahead, isn't it?
So we're gonna start the paving now.
We
Sorry?
are going to, right?
The paving
Yeah.
and
So
the.
you can pay with the money you have, but you can't do
Right.
this other stuff, right?
Yep.
Right.
Is that
So,
okay? That probably is okay.
yeah, and so the other things are additions to making the track both more usable for track teams as well as individuals, but also making it more accessible. Some fixing of gates and fences, and then some benches that
Sure,
they
but
want.
I guess
So
I'm back to. yeah.
So, hang on, so the bottom line is that if you take the total that they think
Yeah.
they need, which is almost 60,000, and you take, subtract 48,
Yeah.
you're left with 11,490. That would be the estimated addition that they need, and so is what would go on the warrant. If we find out, I don't know if we're gonna find out anything different, Ryan, about the engineering before then?
We will, yep.
We will.
It'll be
So-
done by then, so.
Okay,
Well, that's
so
my
we will
question.
know then before.
You need the engineering with the paving, right, or not?
So I'm negotiating with them now, but there's 6,000 in between the bid and what was approved, and I think that's gonna be the engineering cost. No more than.
Right, but
So we
you
have enough.
can't- If you're successful, great, right, but you need that site survey before you pave?
Bringing the engineers there to make sure that the vision that the rec commission has gets executed correctly and there's no errors. So they're not designing or creating documents. They're just there for advisory purposes to make sure it goes well. So I don't think that, I think that's the very high end of the cost.
But you only have $6,000.
And I,
$5,910.
and I will not spend more than that.
So, okay, so you're confident you'll reach an agreement with the engineers?
Yeah, they do a lot of work for us and
Okay, so
We're gonna get it done.
That's my
So
point.
that'll
was
lower
pointing,
this.
that you can only still, today, only spend 48,000.
Correct,
And it's 1 and 2 have to be done. So then it's just money for the other stuff, which.
correct.
Worst case, you don't, I mean, I'm sure it'll pass, but it's nothing
Yeah,
critical to
critical
paving.
Right.
It's adding lines and benches. Great. Okay.
All right. So,
So just to wrap that, Chair, if Alex is successful, then we're still committed to one issue on Sunday, right? Single issue Sunday, and then it would be the basic issues. Your issue would be fast, but the fire station and
and
the
demo
demo
delay.
bylaw, which, okay, that's, by that time, if people are saturated with town meeting, it might be only a 2-hour town meeting, right?
and we're gonna have a fair chunk of time at our next select board meeting to talk about town meeting.
Okay.
So, think about it. We'll see what develops, how we want to handle it, and then hopefully Wayne, I know Gretchen was checking with Wayne to see if he could attend that meeting, but
Yeah.
it'd be good to just get everyone in a room and
Right.
Yeah,
hopefully we have more information on planning board and how that's gonna play out.
Well, that's really, Wayne has been pretty vocal that that's his job.
Yep.
Like, he told us, the committee, to butt out, essentially.
But just the
This is okay.
logistics of the meeting is, I think.
Exactly how he runs it, and his whole scheme, he's working lots, and that's fine. So that's fine. And I think, I don't want to speak for Mark, but I know Mark was one of the proponents, is
He's going to.
I'm not gonna speak for him, I'm just gonna speak for me, but the simplicity and the focus of saying Sunday is about one issue.
Yep.
Like, I feel pretty strongly that
Okay.
we do that, right?
yeah, we're all committed to
Yeah.
that.
Okay, good.
We've said we're doing it.
Okay, great, thank
Okay.
you.
Moving on.
Okay, so I really have to attend to my personal stuff. I'm gonna listen in on the rest of it.
Adding cell service to Carlisle communication towers, initial discussion. So we have someone on the line from,
We do. So just to briefly introduce the topic, Igor from Structural Consulting Group reached out to us about Verizon's interest on one of our public safety monopoles at 2 Proctor Road. And Julie was working on this with me. We had an initial meeting with the fire department to learn the history of cell service on public service towers, and wanted to talk to the fire department about how that would interfere or not with their services, with the primary goal of those towers being to provide public safety. So they, and not to speak for them, they can come talk to you as well, but indicated that cell service is now part of the public safety mix. So it is important to have better cell service, and I do know one of the complaints we get in town is that there needs to be better cell service.
Really?
However, the last time this was discussed, and looking at notes in various minutes, there was some controversial discussions about towers and what can or cannot be added and where that should happen. So I figured we'd bring in Igor here to talk to you about what they're interested in or proposing, and then I'm looking to see if, because Julie right now is only spending time on MBTA communities, if you want us to engage in this and when. Otherwise, we're pretty busy with town meetings, so I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. So that's a long wind-up for Igor to talk about his interests.
So no, we're not taking a formal position tonight. It's really just to hear and give our kind of verbal,
Ask questions.
Yeah.
Proceed to the next step if we feel that way. Okay.
So Igor, if you could introduce yourself and just talk about your interest, and open it up for questions.
Good evening. Thanks, Ryan. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So basically, my name is Igor Yevsuk. Probably have me on the board there. I'm a consultant for Structure Consulting Group. We are vendors and consultants for Verizon Wireless, have been doing their a bunch of services for them for the past 25 plus years. So the reason I reached out is in that specific portion of Carlisle, there is a need to enhance Verizon service. So usually when we do that, we go and, basically we are given by Verizon radio frequency engineers what they call like a target search area, what would, if we would build a new facility that would help the overall network coverage. So I got that, and I went out in the field basically, and then drove around, and there's monopole, Carlisle, town-owned, municipal-owned monopole. It's, basically almost right in the middle of that where we would like to be. So the tower was built I have zoning drawing. You guys probably have zoning drawings. I can share my screen to show you zoning drawings, what the tower looks like, and pictures what it looks like. I don't know if you drove by it recently. If you want me to do that, I can do that.
Igor, quick question. Did I hear you say that we would be building, you would be proposing building a new tower or adding on to existing monopoles that already are here?
Yeah, there is existing monopole in the area. That's the one that Ryan mentioned.
Okay,
So,
the one monopole, the one that's on 225?
I'll show you. If you want me, I can share the screen right now if you want me. This is
Okay.
basically,
Oh,
this is the
Proctor Road, okay.
tower.
That's the new one we built.
Play around with this.
On 225, right?
Yeah. No, it's just on the Chelmsford line.
It's a 2 Proctor Lane. That's the 2 Proctor Street. That's the address.
I'm sorry, Igor, what's the address?
Address is 2 Proctor Road.
2 Proctor Road.
Over near
okay.
Great Brook.
It's past
Yeah.
Great Brook,
Okay,
near Chelmsford.
It's right
Okay.
next to the state park. There's a large state park right there
yeah,
nearby.
okay.
It's
Yeah,
on
so
most
basically
recent.
that's your overall view. I have other pictures, but and that's just to share another screen. That's your, I don't know if you see it. This is your zoning drawings from you when you guys originally zoned in town. So that's what it looks like on the drawings. And you can even see right here, it does, when it was designed with the future collocation in mind. It says future rad center. So basically the way it was designed, it can accommodate up to 2 wireless carriers. Both companies who did that for you guys, Chapel Engineering and Green Mountain, they've been working in the wireless industry for a while. They do work with Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, all over the place. So when this was designed, this was designed with that in mind. As far as when zoning approval and the public and, overall, how town approval goes, we understand that it needs to go through different boards, different approval. First of all, you guys would need, not you, but I mean, person department would need to issue RFP for that as well. And I don't know if it requires some kind of town meeting vote. I mean, Ryan probably can talk to that. But the idea here is to collocate on already existing structure. If we cannot collocate on existing structure, our only option on this part of town, there's no tall structures, obviously. There is no even the power lines that we can potentially utilize. Sometimes we work with Eversource to locate on those. Basically, right here, if we cannot go on this municipal owned tower, we would need to propose to build our own tower, thus adding extra tower to that specific area of town. So it would definitely make sense from, Verizon standpoint, and you guys can discuss internally, to do it on already existing structure, especially because it's already designed to handle that loading. So that's basically the scope. I reached out when I stopped by, talked to Julia, talked to Ryan. That's basically the extent of it. So if we would be allowed to collocate here, you guys would issue RFP, and then Verizon would enter into a lease with the town of Carlisle. We probably put either, I think, 6, 9, or 12 antennas. Lately, Verizon was doing 9, so I would say probably most likely 9 antennas. A couple of radios behind the antennas, probably on the highest available central line, which is 1 of 5 right now. And in the ground compound, there's space in the ground compound. Even if there is not, I think it could be expanded, because it's, I actually have a picture of the ground compound as well. Can probably share that too. So, even if we cannot fit in one of the corners, maybe we can expand it a little bit, but basically it would look almost exactly the same. It's just a little bit expanded fence. Our ground equipment consists of, like you have a cabinet right here, a bit similar looking, maybe a little bit smaller, but 2 of those. We usually utilize like 12 by 15, even if that might be too big of a concrete pad.
So
And
Igor, you're not, the picture still remains the pole.
Okay, hold on. I don't know what to do here. Okay.
While he's finding that, can I ask a couple of questions?
Let's stop share, and then.
I think the board would like to ask a couple questions, though. I think they get the basic design.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So this is really for Ryan. Do we have a process in place for these polls? Is this just the select board's determination?
So first, I wanted to see that you were interested in us pursuing this. We would bring that process to you, but yes, there is a process.
Okay.
So this has already been zoned for this type
Right.
of work.
And there can only be 2 additions from what I gathered. So you would send out an RFP, and then the carriers would compete, and then you would, the town gets the revenue from
The revenue and the service. Yep.
the revenue and the enhanced service.
Yeah, and if I can, you guys can offer, like, you can write the RFP if we can award multiple awards. You can, say, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon bid. And I'm sure it could be designed to put 3 carriers there if needed, maybe with little modifications, but I wouldn't just award 1 award. If Verizon doesn't have service there, I'm pretty sure AT&T, T-Mobile struggling as well. So you'd rather have 3 tenants. Everybody will pay you rent. So I would write the RFP that way, so it's not just 1 award, at least 2 or maybe even 3. So, yeah, that's basically the extent of it.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Nope. I am all in favor. Very eager to get this bid out.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I was thinking
It's just a win-win-win all around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cell service is lacking in this town, and this is using existing poles. Like, why? This is what it's there for. So I would proceed with all due haste.
Do you need a motion? What do you need
Nope,
from us?
just wanted to introduce it, make sure that everybody was okay with me working on this, and then.
Are there additional opportunities? I know the other, like the monopole on 225. Are there additional opportunities within Carlisle aside from just Proctor?
So this one's easier because It's already been assessed.
Okay.
And as a consultant, Igor is interested in this one.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
terms
I
of
can explore if
understanding
you.
it.
I think there's two you guys zoned when you zoned in 2000. I forgot what the year was. When I talked to Chapel, they told me I think they did two of those for you guys. Personally, right now, this is the only what we call open search area for Verizon in towns. But if Ryan can send me another location, I can also ask a ref engineer to look at that. The other monopole might be next to already existing site, so that might not be needed. But we are happy to evaluate that as well. Carlisle is not. I mean, we need service in Carlisle. So.
Yes.
I would think that if you could send every site they have,
Yep.
see what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be great.
Yep. But with this regard to this one, yes, move forward. I mean, unless anyone has a dissenting view.
Okay, we'll start with this one.
Yeah.
I think you sense an eagerness here. This is a.
Yes, it hasn't gone public yet, but yes.
Yeah.
It has now.
Okay. All right.
And Brian, I can talk to you offline. I mean, like usually we come. This is very unusual to come across a monopole like that without the carrier, just the town equipment on it. Like usually, there's what's it called 6409, section 6409 of I think it's Middle Class Relief Act. It was federal legislation. So if you have something like that, usually it's enough for us to just to go and apply for building permit. But in this situation, looking through the zoning and the minutes, I think we probably need to go to some kind of hearings here because of the way it was zoned originally. But I'd be happy to work with you. Just let us know what you want to do, and then we'll move forward. I mean, that's of course after the leasing is done. So.
Thank you, Igor. I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah,
sure Ryan
good.
will be in touch.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Great.
Thank you.
Let's do it. All right. Cell service. Okay, moving on. 9:30, we're on to appointments. Let's start with the straightforward ones. So one is, the first motion was to amend the cemetery committee charter to reduce the number of members to 3 from 5. And there was a memo or note in the packet from Gordon to that effect. I won't rehash what's in the memo. They've been operating at 3, and there's not a groundswell of volunteers to join the cemetery committee, so I would support them moving that committee to 3.
Yes, I would too. You want me to make the motion?
If you'd like, yep.
I move that we approve the amendment to the cemetery committee charter to reduce the number of members to 3 from the current 5.
I would second that.
Seconded. Okay. Any further discussion or deliberation? Seeing none, let's do a voice vote, noting that David Modell is absent.
I'm here. I mean,
Oh, he
I
is
can
there.
vote,
Hey,
right?
David.
I can
Let's
vote.
do a roll call then.
I vote aye. Modell, aye.
Arnold, I.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye. Motion passes. The next one was a motion to appoint Jonathan DeCock as Carlisle's alternate representative to the Sudbury, Assabet, and Concord River Stewardship Council.
I would move to appoint Jonathan DeCock as Carlisle's alternate representative to the Sudbury, Assabet, and Concord River Stewardship Council. He's done awesome work with the water chestnuts.
Yep.
Second.
Any discussion or deliberation? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye.
It also speaks very highly of Carlisle that 2 people have volunteered for this.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Well, he's an alternate, right? So
Yes.
there's a primary.
Yes.
Who's the primary?
Oh,
That I should have thought about before I opened my
it
mouth.
listed it in the notes. I don't remember who it was.
Okay.
What?
That's great.
So the other appointment was Jamie Webster as a member of the Environmental Sustainability Committee. There's a correspondence in your packet because the question of residency requirement and the residency status was raised. I went back and looked at the actual video from those meetings and read the minutes, and it was never really specifically highlighted the intent of the bullet that says.
ESC charter?
Yeah, so my interpretation was that the charter does have a residency requirement, or does specify a residency requirement. That being said, the current situation is such that the individual there's also what constitutes residency. The person is living in Carlisle, hanging their hat in Carlisle, so to speak, with a permanent address in another town. So there's two questions. If you use the hang your hat standard, I would argue that they currently have residency, which would make the first point moot. But again, it's open for discussion. Does anyone have any particular thoughts on this one?
I thought, I saw somewhere, and I'm sorry if I can't find the specific section, but where this person was asked about their future plans, and did we get an answer? Do they plan to, because they're just staying temporarily with somebody, right, that lives at a residence here in town?
Yeah, so I can say, speaking for the staff, we felt uncomfortable digging any farther
Okay.
into the personal
Situation.
life of this
Okay.
person
Yeah.
without you telling us that, and them knowing that would be required for this appointment.
I see.
So we flagged the residency because the charter.
Yes.
Where there's not a lot of residency requirements in Carlisle, this one seemed to stand out, which is why we flagged it. It is
Yeah.
no comment on the volunteer or
Right.
charter or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we did not feel comfortable saying that this was a resident without your
Right.
assent.
I do think we should establish what their future intent is. And I would like to volunteer to draft up some residency requirements, because I do think that's still hanging, right? We kind
Yes.
of briefly touched on it before, and then we didn't really, so.
We've kind of taken it one at a time, and
Right,
it's
yeah.
already coming up again.
Right.
And so there's two parts. There's how do we define residency,
Yep.
which is, again, one of those things that when you dig into, you think there's a definition, and there's really not a good one.
No.
And number two is, as a select board, do we have a policy, blanket policy, or per committee charter policy
Right.
of how we
Required.
view non-residents?
Right.
So I think the first step would be, how do we define residency would be a good starting point, and then we can decide, do we need to go through, and if we want to have à la carte residency requirements for certain committees, just making sure we articulate those in the charters.
Yeah.
So
But that's not for tonight. Tonight is, do we make this appointment?
I think I would recommend we hold off until we determine the person's plans
Right.
for whether
I mean,
they're gonna
I
have
would think that-
permanent residency, or at least, I don't know what the right word is, or their plan is to permanently have a residence here in Carlisle, at least for the,
The term of the
Yeah.
yeah.
In business, it would be a going concern, right? You want to make sure this is a going concern. What are her future intentions? I mean, she's advising the select board on issues of sustainability. I think these could all have some very long-term implications. I want to know she's around for the duration, whatever that is.
Yeah, and I
Sounds
mean,
good
she's,
to come.
she's being recommended by the ESC, and I know
Yeah,
they
and I-
really want her, so.
And I see Christina there. I'm going to give Christina I see your hand raised. Christina, if you could just say your name and go ahead and chime in.
Thanks, Christina Christodoulos. I'm co-chair of ESC. I know, I hope this is okay to say publicly. She has mentioned to me that she is she's trying to save up enough money to buy a house in Carlisle. So I don't know if that helps or not. That is something that she has stated to me.
I see. Okay.
So I just figured I'd let you know. Thanks.
Do you know, Christina, off the top of your head, the duration of this appointment? Is this a?
It's a 3-year appointment.
Okay.
Yeah, members are 3 years, associates are 1.
And if, again, don't like to get too personal or anything, but if, would she be staying at the residence where she's currently living? Let's say she's not able to purchase a house within the term of within the 3-year term. Would she be planning to stay in Carlisle for the term?
I don't have the answer to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
If we take this information at its word and it's recommended by Christina, I would say I would be fine with approving them.
I think that, and what I might ask is that if at some point she's no longer hanging her hat in Carlisle, that she would step off the ESC.
Right.
I think, in my view, she meets the residency requirement currently, as we have it, as we know it, which is hanging your hat in Carlisle. That's the best that I've heard in terms of a residency requirement.
Yeah.
If she or someone on any committee that's no longer, that has a residency requirement, this is one that I think does, as long as they're no longer residents, they have an obligation to let us know and step down from that position.
I mean, the other alternative is unless there's some, driving need to be able to vote, she continues to participate on the committee as a non-voting resident, right? That'd be up to the ESC if they want to include, have her continue to advise them and work on things. My concern about going ahead and approving it now is that since in the absence of a policy about volunteers, we have a couple of other situations where we haven't really addressed the residency question. So
I think it's something that the select board really needs to focus on, and I would point to our chair and vice chair to try and move that along to get a policy in place.
Yeah.
And in an absence of that, I don't know, I'm not as inclined to support when, as much as I want people to volunteer, and I so encourage it, I think you had articulated, Marty, that, if people want to volunteer and may not vote, but, they can help out, and if they're really inclined to that, that's a positive thing as well, but, I don't know, I think that this is something we should explore rapidly.
I know Christina wants to say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Christina.
Hi, thank you. I'm sorry. Just something else to consider is the difficulty to meet a quorum if committees are not fully staffed isn't the right word, but don't have all memberships filled, so if there's not other people applying to fill that membership. We do have another person interested, but she's adamant that she wants the associate member position. So if there's no one else to fill the position, it makes filling a quorum a little more difficult. I'm just putting it out there just as an additional consideration.
How many are
Thanks.
Yes.
What's your quorum, what are the number of members currently? I mean, not the number currently serving, but the number of member positions on the ESC?
7.
7.
Yes.
And how many are filled?
We have 6 right now.
Okay. So your quorum is 4.
Yes. But with fewer people to fill it currently.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can take an action to
Thank you.
draft something to put in front of the board.
David.
David's back.
All right.
Did you find it?
David,
It was in your car.
I was in the car all the time.
Who said the car? Who said the car?
David,
Well,
just
they
know if
finally
you've
got a
been
flashlight. in
following
the-
along.
The roadster has no lights.
We're discussing the
No,
residency.
I heard all that. So I think, I guess just to calibrate my thinking, my understanding, we have no policy, but some boards do have a policy.
This charter has what I interpret as a residency requirement.
So we have 2 disconnects, right? We have some boards are silent and some boards aren't.
That's right.
And then it sounds like we've sort of
We've been
loosely but not
silent.
formally defined what residency means.
Right.
There's no formal definition.
There's no formal
No,
definition.
but so we need to, that's the
So
policy.
we-
Right.
We need to
Yes.
take it out, formalize it,
Yes.
and put it across all boards.
Right.
And the question here is, do we do a temporary solution or not? And you were saying you're not comfortable with it, but, what's the worst that can happen? I heard also, she indicates that she is moving, or?
She wants to.
She's
She
hoping
wants
to
to
buy a house.
Oh, okay. It's different.
Yeah, she's saving up to buy
There
a house.
might be a lot of people in other communities who want to.
We should just wait.
Yeah, so we.
Christina, tell your people to show up to the meetings.
Or you can
All right,
reduce
so-
your size of your board.
Well, you can go to 5 and then you're.
So we want to table this, we want to table this appointment, take it under consideration. I would like, so we'll get a draft of what residency may mean in Carlisle, so that we can more
Right.
clearly make a
Can we do
determination.
comparable town thing, or Harrington should be able to.
It's all over the place.
It's all over the
Is
place.
it really?
Yeah.
And then I think on this one too, it's, well, there's a larger question. We do have some communities that have residency requirements, everyone else is silent. How do we approach that? Do we just put a
Once we
blanket?
have a policy, we can say, right? just
If we
can't do
want
that
to,
now.
or, and maybe it's, if there are certain committees where we don't, for whatever reason, don't think it meets the policy, we should put that in the charter explicitly.
Right.
Being silent on it is not,
No, being silent's not good.
No,
You
and
should-
it makes it very hard for the staff when you have
Yep.
a situation like this.
But I think.
Yeah, and it gets-
anyway,
and then
that's
it gets-
a different discussion we should have at a later
Yep,
date.
okay.
Right.
I agree, but I agree that's.
all right.
And, Christina, I would thank Jamie very much for, her willingness to do this, and hopefully she'll be interested in continuing, regardless of, being an official member while we figure out our policy.
Thank you, and she has indicated so it's not an issue.
Okay.
And
Good.
I just typed, for the record, for the current members present in ESC, we have a pretty good track record of attendance, so I'm happy to report
Good.
that. So
Good.
thank you.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
this is, we have this issue in a couple of other places, so it's not just ESC where we have to resolve this for. So I thank you for this, and if that's all, we can move on. There's no other appointments, correct? Oh, there was, no.
Nope.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Well, then
Just
it-
As you're thinking about this, not to discuss tonight, but not only what the definition of residency, but also how you prove it.
Right.
So,
Right.
because someone says they live here doesn't mean that, there's no level of government that would accept that as residency.
No, but don't we today have a process, right? Town clerk has to say that person's domicile.
We do, but in this particular situation, again, this isn't a comment on the person, this would not meet any of our standards of residency. So if you're going to allow it, you should at least have some
Enforceable,
document or
definable.
memo that says that,
Yep.
Yeah.
that I do live here, right?
Okay. Okay. TA report.
Great, I'm happy to give my town administrator report for September 9th. We had a small but dedicated group for our police station renovation groundbreaking, including my son, who was so pumped to be a part of that, on Friday morning. This marks the official start of the construction process, with the crews scheduled to begin site work this week, including the excavation of the foundation interior building preparations. This project will move forward in phases over the next 12 months, with the bulk of it happening in the next 9. So we will keep you and the community informed. The building committee is going to meet at least monthly with our representatives and get a weekly report from our OPM group. So there'll be lots of information flowing your way. We can send you as much or as little as you want. Of course, those meetings are public, so you can participate in them as well. For our human resources updates, I have appointed Scott Grierson, a longtime member of the DPW, as the new mechanic. The reason for this, he's going to be a working mechanic like our working foreman and our working director. He will spend about 60% of his time maintaining equipment and making sure that we're saving money for basic mechanical work, and he's qualified to do this, with the other 40% of his time doing what you would consider DPW work, plowing, and working where necessary. So it's a good thing. It's progression inside the department for Scott. It helps solve a need, and it opens up another spot for a driver laborer. So we're very happy to do that. You also saw tonight some important milestones within the police department, promoting a new sergeant, which now brings us up to our full complement of 3, and then adding a officer, and you'll see a couple more being added because of recent vacancies in the next month. So the professional growth and opportunities in our police department are working. We're getting applicants for these positions, and we're very happy to do so, and getting experienced people, which saves money because you don't have to send them to the academies. We just hope people don't steal our people, but we're happy to steal other people's. In not so good news, our finance and HR assistant, Ratana, who was here for a couple weeks, decided to submit her resignation at the end of August. It's our understanding that there was a better opportunity, but we didn't flesh it out more, and she wasn't interested in doing an exit interview. So there's nothing to note except a resignation, and we're hoping of a better opportunity. There was no issue. I know that was kind of an abrupt leave, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to talk about that publicly. And although this says we are continuing our search for a new assistant town clerk, we did have one of our strong candidates decide to take the position, although we didn't think that was going to happen. So we have a person starting in the next couple weeks in the assistant town clerk position. Remember, the definition of this position was expanded to include the historical commission support, which they badly need, and support for all of the what we call orphan boards that don't have staffing for their minutes to try and catch us up, which I know is focus of Scott's and other people. So this person's going to be dynamic with the boards, helping and serving in many different departments, which is what we want.
Ryan, because your note says the two top candidates, so one of those two changed his or her mind, or was somebody else?
The one of those two decided to come work for us, which
Okay,
we're
good.
excited about.
And do you know why? I mean, what changed?
We
You worked
we
on it?
presented a great culture and
You
opportunity.
took her for ice cream and, yeah. Well, that's good. I was concerned seeing the due to compensation and benefits line in your report.
Yeah, as we get a lot of applicants for these positions, we're finding highly qualified people who may be even overqualified for some of our positions, who want to break into government. In this case, I think it's a good fit and it's going to work out.
Okay,
So-
great.
So have you
Good.
seen an increase in that sense?
Yes.
Of applicants?
We had 40 for this position.
40,
Now,
wow.
I wouldn't say they were all, Stephen Canary had 300 for the custodial position, but he was able to narrow it down to maybe one or two, and neither one of them worked. So we are getting a lot of applicants that
They
are.
may not be qualified.
Right. But we're seeing more. When we first started here, maybe it's because of the job market, we were only getting ones and twos for most positions. So we're interviewing at least 4 to 5 people for these positions now. And these are not department head level positions either, so that's a good
Right.
sign. All right, our open space and recreation plan has celebrated or is soon to celebrate its 7th birthday, which means it's time to either rewrite it or get an extension. So the way the law works, at the 7-year mark, you can extend it for 3 to make it 10, or you can rewrite the whole thing for a new 10 years. Obviously hoping to get the extension. It's a difficult 2-year process. So we will get the extension with some work from Megan, and then it takes about 2 years to write these things. So we will be starting the 10-year plan during that extension period, which I think is their sneaky way of getting you to
So
do
the
that.
extension really just says the plan we had is good for 3 more, we state that it's good for 3 more years.
Yes.
And you're not allowed to tweak it to do, like, if in that exercise they find this is anachronistic and should say this, are they allowed to do that for the 3 years, or they just?
The extension is more of an update on the action goals.
Okay.
So you can do some
You
tweaks.
can do some.
But then publish a new 10-year plan, which times well with Sylvia transitioning to Megan, and Megan being able to steward this next.
But it's
10-year.
Conscom's job,
It is Conscom.
the same guys who were jumping right on the wetlands.
All right,
So,
two.
I'm sorry, but just a quick question. So when it says open space,
I'm not running for re-election.
that means our conservation land
And recreation land,
and recreation?
all open space. It's the plan for all the things we own that are
Right.
designated for open space and recreation.
Right, so, well, what I'm just thinking about is there some way to fold into this the development of a strategy for how we want to manage our conservation lands and what the plan is for them over the next 10 years?
That's exactly the
Because we
point.
don't have it, and this might be a organized way to make it happen.
Yeah. The current plan does talk to this. It's just getting it enacted and making sure that you're following it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, 2 things for your consideration tonight. The first, you heard from Karen from Audubon Lane during your community feedback forum. You asked that our engineers prepare a scope of work for you to analyze the water flow, and that is in your packet tonight. So the scope of work is well defined. We discussed it. We believe that it would give you the initial answer to what may or may not be possible and what may or may not be the issue. And the price tag on that is $5,900.
So that's not too bad.
And that would come out of the road maintenance budget.
Yes. So if you want us to do that, we can. If you want more information, have Nitch come, we can do that as well. If you
We
don't
need
want to do that,
Vote it or just tell you it's okay?
I would take direction.
So, let me ask the question though, so that's, the work product of that study would be the fix and the cost of fix?
It
Or
would
just
be a
clause in
determination of
here?
why the water is doing what it's doing, and
Cause.
they did say they would give some initial recommendations for
Well.
fixes.
Don't you just have to like stand out there in the rain and?
Yeah, and why?
I mean, I happened to, over the course of the last 2 weeks, talk to two people. One works for me, I know him, and the other one I just met him, but.
On that
they both
street?
live on, well, they live on
Oh.
Indian Hill.
Yep.
So I'm like, what's up with the water, right? And they're like, yeah, it's like more water. More water now. So something's going on up there, but.
So they're even seeing it up in Indian Hill.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
Well, and
quite a
it-
bit up.
From the one photo, it looked like that culvert
Yeah.
can, or whatever that is, can get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like, and so, that wasn't identified as a problem on the culvert analysis. But if the water is changed and that culvert's not sufficient,
I'm just saying like 6,000 to learn that there's more water and that it pools down
Yeah.
at the bottom, I mean, that.
Well, I think it's gonna be more detailed than that,
Yeah.
David.
Well, one would hope.
But what we need is really, what's the fix and the cost to fix, right? We know there's water, we know, she's telling us.
But what's the
Ryan
root
was saying
cause?
that they not only identify what the cause is, but they will present some
So they
initial
will-
options.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's more than
of
you.
Initial
Because I think it's in
You
the.
undersold it then, okay.
I think it's in the letter.
Yeah.
It
We
is.
have a niche letter in here.
The-
Yes.
All right. fair
Yeah.
enough.
And I would move to approve for
Yeah, I agree.
$1,900 to do the analysis.
Yeah, here it is.
yep, perform desktop net, prepare probable cost to perform remedial actions. So,
And up to 2 remedial action recommendations.
Yeah, that's good, you're right.
We tried to limit the scope because we're not sure that you'll want to move forward, so we didn't want to go
Right.
too far with the design, but we needed to give you enough information for you to make the next decision.
An order of magnitude opinion of probable cost.
We wanna find out
yeah,
what's
let's
causing.
let's find out what's going on there, yeah.
All right, sounds good to me.
Scott, would you take a movement
do we need a motion?
to-
No, we don't.
No, we don't need a motion.
No, we don't need a motion.
There we go.
So you have our,
Our-
you have our support.
Need to not
Directive.
get yelled at when I spend the money.
No.
Yeah.
All right, the second piece we're looking at here is the repair of the town clock. So there is a problem with the, let me look this up.
There's a problem with the clock.
Striker. There's a problem with the striker. So Rob does this for us. He's our clock timekeeper. He identified the damage and found Mark Gibson, who's one of our call firefighters, is talented and can fix the striker after an investigation. So the cost of this is not to exceed $1,000. They need to get into the clock to really identify what the fix is, but they have promised it will not be more than $1,000. So Rob has recommended Mark. Because Mark is an on-call firefighter, would be entering into a contract that has a financial interest with the town. The board must accept his exemption by vote to protect him and the town from the conflict of interest law. We also had him call the State Ethics Commission to make sure there was no conflict, and there is not. This is just overkill, but we like
Got
overkill.
it here.
This is new.
So there's a motion for you.
Thanks.
Ryan provided a new motion that's different
All
than
right.
what's in the packet.
So I would move to approve the exemption under General Laws, Chapter 268A, Paragraph 20B, from Mark Gibson, a municipal employee who seeks to provide personal services to a municipal agency, as identified in the disclosure included in the packet.
Second.
Any discussion or deliberation? Seeing none and all are present, let's do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
You'll
passed.
see some communication about the clock, mainly because you might not hear it chiming for a couple days, and we just want people to be aware of that, although we expect some calls.
You just need me to sign this?
Yes. For capital project updates, the elevator is going back out to bid this week. I have a meeting to finalize the bid package, and we should have an answer and a contract signed by November. That's the time frame that is required for that procurement. The brick building HVAC contract was signed today with Boston Mechanical, Inc. This is a project that's a joint effort between the Facilities Department, the MFC, and the Recreation Department. They're splitting the costs, and we expect to complete this project before the winter months. We're starting the scheduling process now. Stephen Kearney was rewriting the bathroom renovation scope today, so we're hoping to have a good update for that tomorrow. Sims and your cemetery committee is working on the mapping project. I don't have any new information. They met today, so in my next report I'll have more. And then Lazaro Paving will start the road maintenance, the supplemental road maintenance plan for Acton Street, Pheasant Hill Lane, and Berry Corner Road and Lane. Just want to update you, so our map is wrong for Berry Corner. It identified Berry Corner Lane as the road we're fixing, but that bulb or that circle at the end of Berry Corner is actually Berry Corner Road and not Berry Corner Lane, even though it's identified on every map on Earth that way. So we have to fix that map in order to get the.
Jeez.
So I spent a lot of time measuring and found someone who lived there, and it's all good. We're fixing it all.
Okay.
For Community Preservation Acts, you heard a little bit about the Banta Davis track rehabilitation. Lazaro's going to do the paving on that. We're going to have our engineers there to make sure it's done correctly, as we talked to you about, and you heard tonight about a possible recommendation for additional funding to complete that project. I don't have any new information on the Greeno and Cranberry Bog hydrologic studies. We do not have those yet, but they are final. They're doing their last edits, and they're supposed to send them to us soon. And same thing, no new information about the Bog House affordable housing feasibility study, except that we'll have updates soon. Building construction projects. The library renovation building committee is working closely with the MFC and all of the designers to manage 4 projects: the elevator renovation, the mechanical room expansion, library coils, and the full renovation itself. And we're trying to put all of these together. So to improve the efficiency, the architect and the OPM have recommended consolidating all the projects, and the MFC did vote to do this. We negotiated the price down, and we believe that it'll all work out as long as everybody's in agreement. The way they talked about it, they likely will be. So all of that'll come under one roof. Then you'll get your 60% construction documents and estimate based on that, and then the committee will know where they are in terms of the renovation funding versus the cost. And you should get
Are
the.
they all funded from the same source?
Yeah.
No.
Different
Some of them
ones.
will come 100% town, right? Elevators and coils and
Yes.
things? Yeah.
Yep.
But the math will all get worked out.
And the renovation is part CPA and mostly private funding. It's
Right.
all very complicated, but we're getting it all together into one renovation project with everybody's help, and everybody's being very helpful and working together nicely. You heard about the police station renovation. I will obviously be updating you on that pretty regularly. Tonight you talked about the fire station renovation, so I don't need to give you that update. And I do need to know the DPW building plan as part of that presentation, so I can help you prep that for town meeting. So I know you wanted to provide at least some information with the fire station. That was your last direction.
A quick question, Ryan. On the Bog House, the studies that were funded, are those firms that did the studies, are they going to provide us with written reports?
Yes.
Okay, and those are being done now, or? I know that it's tricky because, our town planner's time is really full, but somebody doing the follow-up with them on those reports being done?
Yeah, I believe we have them in our possession, and we're ready for the next step, which we wanted to bring to you with that information.
Okay, so that'll be after the town meeting, we'll do that in November. Yeah, okay, good.
So the next step would be feasibility for housing, based on the findings of the site survey and the septic analysis.
Right, and so, I think that we ought to, when we want to have that conversation at the select board level, it might make sense to make it a joint thing with the housing trust.
Yep.
Yeah,
And they're pretty anxious to get here.
I know they are, they're kind of jumping the gun a little bit,
They're
but,
saying that they understand MBTA is going on, but they're not fully acting like they understand. I mean that in a funny way.
Is that
Yeah.
housing trust you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain people in the housing trust.
Like, we know MBTA is going on, but we will get to it. It's important. Two notifications that I have to give you. First, the Carlisle Community Chorus open rehearsals will have a Rotary sign from September 8th to the 22nd. And we approved another Rotary sign for Kicks for Cancer, and this will be in the Rotary from the 21st to the 28th. Lastly, unless there's questions, I would like to recognize staff member Noelle Beland She's gone above and beyond this summer, assisting with the transition of our conservation administrators and working closely with Julie to manage the many public meetings related to the MBTA community zoning work. Most recently, Noelle stepped in as primary staff support for the planning board during Julie's vacation. A couple weeks she was gone during this MBTA process. Well-deserved, but it was a difficult time, and Noelle stepped in beautifully, handling a complex workload with professionalism and without hesitation. So her contributions highlight the value of hiring talented, multidisciplinary staff who provide both succession planning and organizational flexibility. We are fortunate to have her on our team and grateful for her reliability and ability to learn quickly. And I know Megan and Julie both have appreciated working with her. Megan in her transition and Julie as support for the work she's doing now. So Noelle is just a fantastic member of our team and worthy of recognition. We will send out calendar reminders for all the select board meetings and are committing to doing that forward. I just want to remind you that next Tuesday you have the 2 dog hearings. So there is a meeting next week and then your regular meeting on the 23rd.
But
we're
moving.
Well,
though.
we had talked about that, and I don't know if people are in a position to decide tonight. We had talked about potentially moving the October dates, given the town meeting was on November 2nd, to be the 7th and the 21st, as opposed to the 14th and 28th. Because it's
Right.
also 3 weeks between the last meeting in
Right.
September and the first meeting in
So
October.
I was just looking at that. So we're meeting, let's go back. So we're meeting next week again,
Dog hearing,
and the week after that again,
yeah,
and we're skipping the 30th.
right. And then our normal schedule cadence would be October 14th and then the 28th.
Why not move the 23rd to the 30th? So
Well,
the
'cause we-
6th
Well, it's awfully close.
Yeah, we
I'm good with that.
So
I
we're
have a
going
conflict.
with,
I mean, I can do remotely on the
which one?
7th, but I can do it. I can do it, but I'll be remote.
What do people think about that? If people can do it?
The 7th?
Yeah,
so instead of the 14th, it'll be the 7th.
yep.
And
And the
it's-
21st.
And then instead
Yeah.
of the 28th, it'll be the 21st.
Yep.
Okay. So 1st and 3rd.
First and third, and then
Okay.
that gives us, it probably, well, it may work better leading up to town meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, are we gonna have any last minute things in the last week before town meeting?
We might, I mean, we have the option of having a meeting if we need it. We'll see. I mean, if it ends up being just the few articles, I think the biggest question will be if there's something that changes with the planning board plan it to us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do whatever. I'll make what I can.
Okay,
A quorum on the 7th is,
let's finalize
Vital.
that tomorrow, Barney.
Okay.
What's that?
a quorum on the 7th is vital for signing the
I'll be
warrant.
Yep, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Barney and I
right.
will discuss tomorrow at the planning meeting and
Okay.
we'll formalize it.
Right.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. We'll meet in November. All right,
That's the
November
report.
4th, we're done.
we're shutting it down.
I'm not gonna change the calendar yet. I should wait, or?
No, should change it.
Yeah, just change it,
Okay.
I'll send out an update tomorrow, though, with the confirmation. All right, moving on, warrant and minutes approval. We have the minutes from August 26th. I don't know if people had a chance to review.
Yeah, we're in the packet.
Getting wise.
I am. I move that we approve the minutes from August
26th.
6th?
26th.
6th.
You had a chance to.
26th, I did. Date eluded me. 2025. As in the
Second.
packet.
Second, okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Liaison reports, I think I'm gonna add an agenda item to the dog hearings for liaison reports, if we have time between
Yeah.
hearings where we
Sure.
could do a report out, because I feel like it's probably worth everyone doing a.
It's a good idea.
Does anyone have anything critical that they want to go over tonight? Okay, we'll see if we have time for that between dog hearings next week. And then we have the cemetery deed transfers, and I do want to take a moment in these deeds to acknowledge Maggie Oscalillo, who recently passed. Maggie was 48 of Carlisle, passed away peacefully at her home On September 6, 2025, surrounded by loved ones after a brave and courageous battle with ALS, Maggie's vibrant spirit touched countless lives and will be deeply missed by all who knew her. Nothing brought Maggie more fulfillment than being a loving mother to her cherished son, Sam, born in 2008, Nolan, born in 2011. And I think as many of us know, she was a devoted member of her community. Maggie took pride in serving as a PTO room parent every year through middle school, and Sam's in the same age as Kaya and Christine's daughter. So, I think the select board expresses our condolences to Maggie's loved ones, and we thank her for her contributions to the community and all that she did for so many of us.
Yes.
And we reach out to, Luke, who we know well,
Yep,
and the two boys, who,
yep.
Yeah.
lost their mom so early. It's really a sad thing, but,
And you probably saw the notice, but services or visiting hours will be Saturday, September 13th from 5 to 7 at the D Funeral Home. And then a funeral mass will be at St. Irene's Sunday, September 14th at 2:30. So on that note, we do need to make a motion for the cemetery deeds.
All of them, okay.
Sorry, I had that one.
Yeah, is that after?
Here it is.
Okay. So I move to transfer land in the public burial ground at the Green Cemetery as described. Deed 854, Magdalena Oscalillo, Lot D, 146, Graves 1 and 2. Deed 855, Terrence and Deborah O'Kelly, Lot D, 177, Graves 1 and 2. Deed 856, Dijon, Elaine, and William Bojanic, Lot D, 372, Graves 1, 2, and 3.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And with that, we'll turn it back to see if there's any additional community input from the room. Anyone online? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Covered a lot of ground tonight.
We did.